as well as Maurice Norman, the former Tottenham Hotspur player who sadly passed away last month, was beamed onto the big screens here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Both men with tributes paid to them by the capacity crowd here in North London. So we are all set for action. The first of two commentaries for you on New Year's Day here on 5 Live, and Aston Villa in their claret and blue strips will get the game underway, kicking from left to right in this first half. John Brooks is our referee, and from the centre kick, Aston Villa have lost possession very cheaply. Kane chases the ball down, and it's guided all the way back to Robin Olsen, all in orange today, and hassled by Harry Kane. Does manage to get it upfield as far as Emi Buendia. Buendia's crowded out. Ming's touch isn't ideal. This is all down by the Aston Villa penalty area at the moment. Now Douglas Luiz sends it back to Mings, and all the way back to his keeper Olsen. Takes a touch inside the 6-yard box and spins it out to this near side, and Ashley Young, and immediately he's closed down by Son Heung-min, and it's played across the face of the Villa 6-yard box by Konsa to Mings. Collected by Digne, closed down by Brian Hill. Chance for him from the off in the Premier League for the first ever time. 10 substitute appearances before today for Hill, who is part of that front three with Son and Harry Kane. McGinn hugging the right touchline, knocks it infield to Bailey. 3 Tottenham players around him, and one of them, Son Heung-min, gets a touch, and it goes out of play for a throw to Villa just in front of Antonio Conte in his technical area. Yeah, one thing that's very obvious in this early stages of the game is Tottenham's intent to get on their front foot and put Aston Villa under a lot of pressure. Villa still looking to play out at the back, but Tottenham are on their toes, on it, ready. The minute that ball's played into the next player, they're on the front foot and trying to close them down. Bailey with a useful pass out to the left-hand side. Luca Digne's got to race on to try and keep it in. He did, but could only present it to Doherty in the Spurs right-back position, and it's worked into Basuma. Tottenham have done that nicely. Hill now makes a bit of ground, but then runs straight into Douglas Luiz, who stood his ground, no more than that. Spurs were half-heartedly asking for a free kick, and there will be a free kick now for Aston Villa for a barge in the back on Douglas Luiz. So it's a decent area for Villa's free kick, about 40 yards out. There are 4 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Championship today. There was one early kickoff, and that has now finished. Blackburn have beaten Cardiff by a 1-0. Blackburn, who are up in third in the table, seeing off a struggling Cardiff side then by a solitary 0-0. Here, with 2 minutes played, 0-0 between Spurs and Villa, but Villa with this free kick, it's too far out surely for a shy at goal. Still, Hugo Lloris is barking out instructions to his Spurs teammates. No wall required, and the free kick knocked short. Young's going to have a go from long range, smacked it straight into Son Heung-min, who's still wearing that face mask after that fractured eye socket that he suffered against Marseille in the Champions League. The ball has squirted all the way through to Olsen, who doesn't pick it up. He just plays it out from the back, and Villa have it inside their own area with Konsa. Yeah, Villa almost played themselves in a bit of trouble there. You could see as that free kick was taken, Young, as he takes that shot, Young is actually the player that's closest from Aston Villa to their own goal. So every single Villa player was in the final third of the pitch, and because it was blocked by Son, it became a race to the ball. And unfortunately for Villa, Young still had enough in the tank and those legs to outrun Son to the ball. Antonio Conte just controlling the ball as it came towards his technical area, giving it back to Ashley Young, who has taken the throw for Villa in front of his manager Unai Emery, who's got almost an Arsene Wenger style coat on, not quite as long as that massive sleeping bag style one that he became famed for wearing, and another former Arsenal manager here in the dugout, Unai Emery, who did a decent record actually, didn't lose any of the 3 Premier League North London derbies that he was in charge of, 2 wins and a draw, as the ball is cleared out from the back unconvincingly by Clement Longley, and it's a cheap throw for Villa about level with the Spurs penalty area. Yeah, just a little bit of uncertainty and miscommunication between Romero there and Longley there, so they're just going to have to get that sorted out very quickly. Goalless with 4 minutes played on 5 Live Sport. We've got commentary of Nottingham Forest against Chelsea to come for you. That's a 4:30 kickoff. Here's Mings on halfway for Villa. Short pass. Villa have started this game pretty well, pretty confidently. Yeah, after the initial press from Tottenham, after the kickoff didn't really go to plan for Aston Villa, they've been able to gain possession and keep it quite comfortably. Mark Schwarzer with us on 5 Live Sport, the vastly experienced former Australia international, a Sydney sider as well, I believe, and they kept up their end of the bargain with another spectacular fireworks display, famed for that. think London's was pretty good as well, though, mind. Here's Douglas Luiz surging through. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg stuck out a boot and then immediately tells Luiz to get up because he felt that he was looking for a free kick. Spurs have been given one by John Brooks, the referee, after Son was clattered.
Yeah, Leon Bailey there, you can see there's a little bit of frustration because he got knocked over as Villa had the ball and were attacking Spurs. Got knocked over, was calling for a free kick. Referee didn't give it. The minute Son got the ball and tried to knock it past him, he basically body checked him and gave away a simple free kick.
Well, they both went for him there, didn't they? With Son trying to get away. Two Villa players were across, Kamara and Bailey. Free kick for Spurs then. Højbjerg just motioning to some of his teammates as to where he wants them to go before he knocks it short. Yeah,
you can see Bailey's struggling a little bit. Just earlier on, he had a ball played to him. He tried to make a sort of a drop the shoulder and run towards the ball, and he slips. So I'm not quite sure. At the moment, he's still hobbling a little bit.
Ball over the top for Perisic to chase, but a bit of a cheap free kick on Ashley Young there. Perisic felt that he was just going shoulder to shoulder with him. Young, though, went down and the referee blew the whistle.
Yeah, it's a clear free kick. We've seen it on the interview, on the replay there. It's just a bit of a nudge in his back. It wasn't shoulder to shoulder. I think that's the reason why the referee there gives a free kick. But you can see Bailey still shaking his knee, his right knee. Seems like he sort of struggled, maybe strained, maybe worried about maybe straining a ligament or something.
Well, Spurs hit by an injury issue of their own. Kulusevski suffering an ankle injury in training yesterday, which is why he isn't in the Tottenham squad today. Buendia just inside the Tottenham half has played it in towards Bailey. Højbjerg tried to make the challenge. Bailey gets there first, and then a lovely arrow pass with the outside of his boot to pick out McGinn. Tight to the right touchline, now darting infield. No one closing him down, so McGinn can knock it to Mings, who's advanced into the Tottenham area. Goalless with just over 6 minutes played, but Villa enjoying a good spell early on. Young rolls it into the feet of Bailey, who's come across to the right flank. He's trapped by Perisic. Bailey, couple of step overs, now gets towards the edge of the area and fires in the cross, which isn't ideal, and Romero is there to make the headed clearance. Hill tries to get onto the second ball, has only got it as far as Kamara. Villa still enjoying themselves early on here as it's swept out to Digne, but then no sooner do I say that when Dia overhits the pass and it rolls out for a Tottenham throw.
Yeah, Villa just needed a little bit more width there. Luca Digne was just holding back. It wasn't pushed as advanced as possibly his teammate Buendia had wanted, and that's why the pass was slightly too far in front of him with too much pace on it.
And this is a fixture that generally goes well for Spurs. They've won 67 league games against Villa, their most against any side, along with Newcastle United. Here is Davis coming out from the back for Spurs. Plenty of room to work with. He could almost advance unopposed to halfway before playing it into the feet of Højbjerg. Now there are a couple of claret and blue shirts making a challenge, which has forced Tottenham to retreat, and they've moved it from left to right. Romero then spins it back to the near side where Perisic is in a bit of room. Chests it down into his own path. McGinn's across there to close down the space. Perisic crossing area, gets the ball in high and looping towards the far post. Kept in, is it, or has it gone behind? It's still in at the moment. Buendia is in possession and comes inside of Hill. They've tried to play it out from the back in a tight spot there, and Luca Digne's been dispossessed. That could have been a concern for Villa, but they've just about got away with it. But then the ball's been given away on the edge of the area, and once again Spurs feel that the free kick shouldn't have been awarded. The ball eventually goes off the post, but the whistle had gone, it wouldn't have counted.
Yeah, Romero does get the ball, but I think it's after he goes through Buendia a little bit, sort of takes his leg, then gets the ball. And actually Romero doesn't complain whatsoever, so I think he realised himself that it was a foul. It was just the groans of the fans.
Douglas Luiz for Villa, deep in his own half, knocks it square to Luca Digne, pinged over the top for Watkins to chase. No flag for now. Looked offside to me at first glance. We'll find out soon enough. Watkins into the area, shooting chance here, drags it wide, and the flag didn't go up in the end. Well, that would have been worth a look had he been able to put it in the net, and he got himself into a good area, Watkins, before dragging the effort wide.
No, you can see on the replay here, he's actually on by a long way, and the shot was a pretty poor shot for Ollie Watkins' standards. It just sort of hooks it to the left of the goal, and it was in a really good position. He turns inside, and as he makes a little bit of space for himself, you just feel that he needs to get that shot on target, and if he does, it's going to really trouble Hugo Lloris. 2 goals in his last 3 games against Spurs for Ollie Watkins, and that was the best opening we've had so far, with 10 minutes played and the score still 0-0. We've spoken about Tottenham's sluggish, slow starts. They've conceded the first goal
in 9 successive games in all competitions and haven't scored the opener since their 2-0 win against Everton way back in mid-October, and it's not exactly been a fast start from them so far today, Mark.
No, the initial start where they dispossessed Aston Villa from the kickoff was pretty positive, but since then Villa really have been able to get hold of the ball, and they've really controlled the game.
Ball won well by Romero, and now it's Son by the D of the area. Hotspur tried to be a bit too cute when Kane was in support, and Villa have managed to smuggle it back to their goalkeeper Olsen, who pings it up towards the centre circle. Well met at the back by Longley, but the header has dropped to Kamara, who's absolutely chopped down by Hotspur. Not entirely sure what he's complaining to the referee John Brooks about, because that was as blatant a foul as you're likely to see. So Villa have the free kick, knocked short to Kamara, who has Kane for company. Square pass from him to Douglas Luiz, just inside Villa territory at the moment, and he plays a short pass to Mings. Walking pace at the moment for Villa, who are just spraying it around inside their own half with no real pressure on the ball. Now Son makes the dart towards Young, and that forces him to go back to his keeper Olsen once again. Emi Martinez is in the Villa squad but is on the bench. Unai Emery saying before kick-off that it was always the plan that he wouldn't be back in the starting lineup just as yet after his extended leave of absence following the World Cup success with Argentina, as the cheers you can hear from the Spurs fans greet the award of a free kick for a challenge on Perisic outside their own box.
Yeah, just a little bit over enthusiastic from Leon Bailey. He doesn't really need to put that much of a challenge on Perisic as he's in the air trying to head the ball away. He misheads it, goes out for a corner, but the referee deems it to be a foul, and I think he was pretty right on that one.
Aston Villa's only away win in the Premier League this season came in their most recent away game, the 2-1 success at Brighton in mid-November. Unai Emery suffering his first defeat as Villa boss in the loss to Liverpool, but it's a game they played pretty well in. They had a go against Liverpool, they had their chances as well. I don't think he would have been too despondent given the showing, as Antonio Conte trademark shot of him, basically motioning and shouting and bellowing at his players, and the ball has worked its way to Perisic on the left wing. Lovely flick inside of Young from him, and then the ball in doesn't quite reach White Shirt. Hotspur collects 25 yards out from goal, central area, works it wide to Dirty. Villa have got plenty of players back to crowd out Dirty now, and he's found Brian Hill out on the flank. The crowd like the little bit of skill from Hill, and he's found Dirty, who's got his way through here. Chance for Spurs. Really good defending from Kamara to block the route to goal. That's the best we've seen from Tottenham, and Dirty denied by Kamara.
Yeah, it was really good play. Firstly from Hill there, out wide on the right hand side. Really good little footwork, pass inside. Doherty's turn was nice, really nice. And as Ming comes to him, he just toe pokes it through his legs. Really nice, gets into a great position, and then unfortunately just doesn't have enough time to get a proper shot away, and there's a block.
Beautiful football around there, as Mark was saying. Hill's skill, and then Dirty's nuts on Mings, and then the covering from Kamara was first class to send it behind for a Tottenham corner, their first of the game. It's a congested 6-yard box that Olsen's having to contend with as it's fired in towards there, and Mings has managed to get the interception, which balloons it up to midway inside the Villa half. Hill gets the first touch to it, and it's back with Dirty. He's the only player inside the Spurs half at the moment. Long breaking pass from him is not what he intended. It's straight through to Olsen in the Villa goal.
Yeah, that's what they need to do, those Spurs, when they do have the ball like that and they've got time on the ball. Don't try and force that next pass, and that was exactly what they did there, and then they give the possession straight back to Aston Villa and gives them time to reshape and to slow the game down again. Young
towards McGinn, halfway back to goal, as offloaded to Bailey, who charges through against Perisic. Perisic wins the ball and then rolls it into Son. Kamara stuck out a boot. It's broken for Basuma, just over halfway for Spurs. Basuma looking to try and offload to someone. There's still retained possession, made good ground as well. Hill pokes it back out towards the right flank, and Basuma coming across is crowded out by Mings, and it'll be a throw to Spurs midway inside the Villa half. Yeah, Basuma just held the ball slightly too long there. You could see Doherty was making a run down the right hand side. The fans started to call for it, just didn't see it early enough, and by the time he did, the opportunity had gone. Davis brings it over halfway. 14 minutes played, goalless. Spurs showing signs of life after yet another slowish start from them. Perisic has got the ball off McGinn, and it's gone out for another throw for Tottenham. He goes backwards to Hotspur, who's almost on the halfway line. Now back into the Spurs half, and Longley. He knocks it forwards to Romero. No pressure on the ball at the moment, so Romero plays it inside to Basuma, who's in the centre circle for Tottenham. Now it's Højbjerg, a couple of touches from him. They've worked it from right to left. Davis into the feet of Perisic, gets the return pass. Centre field at the moment. Davis, that's a lovely arrow pass towards Doherty on the far side, and as he was about to burst into the area, he goes down, and it looked as though there was contact from Luca Digne. It was outside the box, but Spurs bellowing for a free kick they felt that they were entitled to. Mark Schwarzer.
Yeah, it's a great ball from Davis, the cross field, right under the chest of Doherty. I just think that the touch he had was so big, and then there was a collision afterwards. I'm not sure the collision was enough for the referee to give a free kick, and also Doherty had no chance of getting the ball after that first really heavy touch.
One of the boos you can hear for the official, John Brooks, who didn't give them the free kick. We're just seeing a replay of it now, and Luca Digne did stick out an arm and sort of prevent him attempting to get on the end of the ball, even if he had no chance of being able to get there.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but it is a contact sport, right? So, there is going to be contact in a game. That wasn't enough to bring someone down.
Young with a throw for Villa then, 0-0, quarter of an hour played. It's in the Tottenham half as Bailey plays it square. Luca Digne back into the centre circle. Mings has it, couple of touches from him, and he gives it back to Luca Digne, left side of the pitch for Villa. Digne, and now Buendia with Hill for company. Douglas Luiz into Kamara. It's all centre field at the moment, and the ball is won. It just feels as if there might be a bit of a hangover for both sets of players. There's just a bit of zip and edge missing from the game early on.
Yeah, a little bit. I think the initial beginning of the game was quite high intensity. Spurs looked like they really wanted to get off to a good start on the front foot. That's died off a little bit. Villa have probably had slightly more possession, but without really causing Spurs any real danger. So yeah, the game's a little bit scrappy at the moment. No one's really taking control of it. Mark
Schwarzer with us on 5 Live. John Murray and Charlie Adam will be your team at the City Ground for Nottingham Forest against Chelsea, which is a 4:30 kickoff. Mings just outside the Villa box at the moment as the first cry of "Come on, you Spurs" from the home fans rings around, and the atmosphere as well has taken a bit of time to grow as well at this wonderful arena. Grey skies overhead, but it is a very mild afternoon in North London as Villa get themselves another throw deep inside their own half. The TV cameras here go to close-ups of Harry Kane, who has not really had much of a touch of the football so far, as Villa have it once again with Kamara in the centre circle. Square pass from him to Douglas Luiz, has a quick look up and doesn't have an option, tries to motion to his teammates to give him something to aim for as he has to go back to Mings, and Luiz again now with Konsa in the Villa half. Konsa into the feet of Kamara, and the pressure on Kamara sees him send it back to his keeper Olsen.
Yeah, a lot of players just standing, looking, watching, waiting for a pass to be played to him, but there's no movement. It's very, very difficult there for Douglas Luiz to find anyone out. You can see Digne on the left-hand side and McGinn on the right, pushed really high. No space for anyone to run into, and it was very easy for Spurs to deal with.
Here's Romero, the World Cup winner with Argentina, who sent it on to Doherty in that wing-back position on the right flank. There's plenty of space for Perisic on this near side, but Tottenham didn't spot him quickly enough, and Son, the heavy touch, has almost given it away to Bailey, who's got away from Son. It's Bailey now motoring towards the area, and Son gets back to make the challenge. It comes off the South Korean last and goes out for a Villa throw, making amends for his own sloppy play there.
Yeah, he does very, very well as he throws his mask off as well. So, I mean, we did see him in the World Cup, didn't we, in the last game, I think it was, where he took off his mask, wasn't wearing it, and I was a little bit surprised he started this game with it. Clearly it's been annoying to him, and he does very, very well. Once he loses that ball initially to Bailey, Bailey's very quick, but Son does well, gets his body in the way, wins back the ball.
I wonder if that's just a slight different variation on when players look at a potential divot in the turf when they sky one over the top. He's almost thrown off the mask to say, "Oh, that's why I gave the ball away."
I tell you now, from a player that's worn a mask in a game, it's hard. It's tough to get used to it. Doesn't matter how long you use it, how often you use it at training, it's there. And it is annoying, and it can definitely put you off unless you've used it for years and years and years. I mean, speaking to Petr Cech once, wearing about his helmet, and he was talking about it took him a long, long time to get used to it, and just the spatial awareness, the people around him. So, I mean, that was slightly different, but I know it does take a long, long time to get used to it.
So the maskless Son now moves into the centre of the pitch as Spurs have it with Hotspur. Just under 20 minutes played, 0-0. Only chances of note, Doherty going through when Kamara got back to make a block, and Watkins with a drag shot wide after he burst into the Tottenham area, but no saves for either keeper to make so far. Romero over halfway for Tottenham Hotspur, into the feet of Kane, quickly closed down by Mings, who had a nibble at him, and the referee decides it was an illegal nibble because Tottenham have the free kick.
Yeah, Kane's come quite a long way, backed in midfield trying to pick up the ball.
And he's taken the free kick quickly and has found Perisic on the edge of the area. Perisic forced wide and off Young for a throw.
Yeah, and Mings just follows him all the way, which you expect him to do. Just get a little bit ahead of himself and tries to win the ball when he doesn't need to. Kane's in no danger for Villa, but he gives away a silly free kick. Fortunately for him, though, Tottenham take it really quickly and kind of waste it.
Basuma centre field for Spurs, squares it to Romero. Urged to shoot by the home fans, he opts to play it wide to Doherty on the right instead. Dab forwards to Hill, who gives it back to Doherty. Worked that well, crossing chance for Doherty. Took too long, although it spooned its way towards Basuma by the edge of the penalty area. Hill gets the chance to whip the cross in now. Blocked by Buendia. Further cleared by Douglas Luiz. It's up towards Watkins. Romero takes charge of the situation, though, and sends it all the way back to Lloris, who's decked out all in yellow this afternoon. His short pass into Hotspur now for Spurs. 0-0, almost the midway point in the first half as Davis makes ground towards halfway. Bailey just sticks out a boot, doesn't get anything on it though, so Hotspur receives the pass safely. Basuma in towards Hill, about 20 yards outside the Villa area, into the feet of Doherty. Now coming short to collect it is Son, but Spurs just lacking that fluency when they get into that final third, taking a bit too long to get the crosses in or try and slip in a through ball, and Villa generally getting bodies in the way. They've got it on the left now with Perisic. McGinn goes to close him down, so again Tottenham forced to retreat. Long lay square pass to Basuma, centre field again for Spurs. They've worked it from left to right and left to right again, but not real much penetration in terms of advancing to that Villa goal. Yeah, it's tough because when you've got so many players pushed forward, Doherty's right far on the right hand side forward, Perisic now is tucked inside. Villa have got 5 players across the back line. There's no space for anyone to run into, and instead, so what Spurs are trying to do is they're just trying to play the ball around, waiting for some sort of movement, but there's little movement being done in front of them. Basuma, 40 yards out from goal. That's a useful pass, slightly behind Son, who's stretching, couldn't bring it under his spell. Villa tried to get forwards quickly, but Bailey's slap pass to Watkins is cut out by Basuma, who's lofted his own ball forwards, and the clearance from Young wasn't ideal. Dropped for Son by the D of the area. Heavy touch from him though, and Villa clear. And that's been a trademark of the game so far. There's been some loose and heavy touches from both sets of players.
Yeah, there have been. There was sort of a half a mistake there for Young there. His clearance was poor. Son really should have seen it because Perisic is right in front of him, slightly to the left, and he's in acres of space. You need to take that, not a touch, but the first time pass out in his direction. You see Perisic being really agitated about the fact that he was on, and Son tries to take that touch. Perisic does well to jump and keep the ball in as it was floated towards the left-hand side, but Tottenham have given the ball away, and Bailey has made good ground now. Over halfway for Villa, only Watkins further forward, so he just waits until some support arrives in the shape of McGinn. Intelligent pass from McGinn, crossfield to pick out Douglas Luiz. Here's Luca Digne now, and again it just slows down to walking pace, which has happened a lot in the game. When a team get possession, advanced area, they seem to stop and wait, and the pace just drops, and then the other team get plenty of players back behind the ball, and there's no room to work with. No, there's not. It's just getting in advanced positions and players just keeping their position. See Ashley Young going down here, and I tell you what, the referee, you could see there, it was Ben Davies, I think it was, who goes through the challenge, and it was quite late. We're going to see it on the monitor now. It's just actually coming together of his shin. It wasn't as bad as my initial thoughts, and just you can see there that Ashley Young gets the full brunt of Davies' shin against his own, and the one that's come worse off of it is Ashley Young. He's gone down for some treatment now. So Young receiving some attention, and Matty Cash is just stepping up the intensity of his warm-up routine. Down on the touchline, just to the left of Unai Emery, who's using the opportunity to get some messages out to his players in consultation now with Douglas Luiz about what he wants to see perhaps change, and what would he want to see change based on the opening 24 minutes. I think when they win possession, Villa, there needs to be a quicker transition of the ball. It needs to be moving further forward, maybe fewer passes in between, but trying to look for that more direct pass at times, not allowing Spurs to get back into position and getting that shape in place and making it difficult to break through. Just got to be a little bit quicker in that transition. It actually goes for both sides. But both have actually been doing exactly the same.
Well, Ashley Young's okay to continue, and Tottenham have sportingly given the ball back to Villa with Olsen in the Villa goal. And now Constant, and again, I've seen it so much. Players from both sides, when they're in possession, they're remonstrating with their teammates. Give me an option, make a run, do something. Where am I supposed to play the ball?
Yeah, at times it's overplaying. They feel like they need to play out of the back all the time rather than looking at sometimes, you know what, sometimes it's actually not a bad thing. Turn the opposition. Get them thinking. Because the minute Villa get the ball, they play the short. Spurs are on that front foot, putting under a lot of pressure.
Son in a tight spot by the D of the area, works it to Davis, good looking cross in, no one attacking it, and Digne able to get the headed clearance in, and then there's a collision between Basuma and Watkins. Both players go down. Basuma's holding his face. John Brooks will stop the game now because it's a head injury, but not because he's going to award Tottenham the free kick.
Yeah, it's an interesting one here, but just initial thoughts is that Hill looks like he goes quite low with trying to head the ball, puts his head down quite long. Basuma, as he's down on the ground, I'm not really sure. I think the referee had got this right, the decision. We'll see it again on the replay as the ball bounces. Yeah, I don't think there's anything, and I actually don't think Basuma gets hit in the head at all. I think he just goes down hoping for a free kick, and the referee doesn't give it. I think the referee got it absolutely spot on. Yeah, there's no collision with his head whatsoever.
John Brooks, the man in charge today, his 8th Premier League game of the season for the official from Leicestershire, and we are back underway with a drop ball after play was halted because Basuma was indicating that he had a head injury. Perisic now left wing with 26 minutes played, a game that's yet to really come to life, goalless at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as Hojbjerg aims to thread a ball through to Hill, but Douglas Luiz wise to it, sliding in to make the interception. But the loose ball has come back Tottenham's way. This is midway inside the Aston Villa half. Basuma works it back to Romero. Likely that he's going to have to go all the way back to Longley, who's unopposed inside his own half. Now he darts forwards to the halfway line and curls the ball forwards for Perisic to chase. Young's across there to try and jockey it out, and who's it come off last? It is the Croatian Perisic, and it's behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, Perisic is on every single time. He's hugging this left-hand side touchline. It's the outball for Spurs. They know, they don't even have to look. They know he's going to be on that touchline, and they've just got to look to play him the ball sooner because he's got space. Ashley Young's decided to stay off him a little bit, and because he's obviously got a lot of pace himself, so he feels that he's got him in those terms, and he's happy to get across once that pass is played.
Mark Schwarzer with us on 5 Live Sport with Charlie Adam and John Murray bringing you the second of our Premier League commentaries today. That's Nottingham Forest at home to Chelsea. That's a 4:30 kickoff here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 28 minutes played, 0-0, and chances at a premium between Spurs and Villa. Romero for Tottenham into Kane, who's come very deep once again and gets a bit lucky as his pass was blocked by Douglas Luiz. He got the second ball, makes nothing of it. Kamara's there for Villa, and that's a pretty robust challenge from Romero, who is frustrated that the whistle has gone, and he's going to be even more frustrated that the yellow card is out of the pocket from John Brooks. But from here, it looked like a bit of a risky challenge.
Well, the minute you go down on your sort of backside with your legs opened up like that, it's like a scissor effect. I mean, more times than not, you get the referee's going to blow a free kick straight away against you. Just one of those challenges. There was no need for it. Yeah, and he's come from slightly behind as well. He's gone through Ollie Watkins. Yeah, you can see he goes through him, sort of underneath his foot. So he doesn't actually take a big blow to the leg, but he sort of sweeps underneath his foot. So I think, again, the referee has made the right decision.
Well, there are a few players that are running the risk of a suspension if they pick up another yellow today. Romero not one of them. Harry Kane and Yves Basuma are both on that tightrope. Kane's actually never missed a Premier League game through suspension before. Spurs on halfway with Romero. Romero back to Longley. Tottenham with all the time in the world inside their own half, so Davis uses the space to send it forwards to Perisic, left wing. That's a useful ball. Son gets to the byline, and then good covering from McGinn to make the block at the expense of a corner.
Yeah, it's the example. Give Perisic the ball soon enough, he will make something happen. Son makes that run in behind the Villa defence there. Perisic plays a really nice ball to him. It's just last-ditch defending that prevents Son from getting across into the box.
Just under half an hour played. Spurs with this corner. Both teams looking for the breakthrough as Son raises his arms in the air. It'll be an in-swinger from him once it is eventually taken. Still waiting for the players to set themselves inside the box. Also with two Spurs players around him trying to make it difficult. The corner was not great, but the clearance from Young has gone out for a throw to Spurs. Son is pleading to say that it went behind for a corner, but the team of officials think otherwise.
Yeah, it was a reckless sort of swing at the ball from Young, and I think he's probably fortunate that he's given a throw-in rather than another corner for.
Lots been made of the fact that Spurs have fallen behind in 6 straight games. They have actually scored 33 goals though this season, only scored more after 16 matches once before. That was when Harry Redknapp was in charge in 09-10. Here's Longley for Spurs, who haven't created much so far, and this cross from Longley is catching practice for Olsen, who then sends it forwards, and Longley here has run the risk of a yellow card, which he's going to pick up because he tried to drag back Bailey as he was advancing. Olsen was looking for that quick clearance upfield and Longley was having none of it, but he's been booked, and that's 2 of the Spurs back 3 now on cautions.
Yeah, it was the ball in the box wasn't the best. It was well taken by Olsen. Olsen looks for that quick transition, tries to throw the ball out, find Bailey, and there is a clear foul there. And the referee does really well, because I don't think he initially sees it. Maybe it's his 4th official, someone in his ear saying, look, that's a foul, and he's given the yellow card.
Bailey with the back heel that doesn't come off. Basuma's there to tidy things up for Spurs. Højbjerg, couple of touches, now moves into the centre circle, and again, no obvious option, so has to go for the square pass. It's Basuma who knocks it slightly forwards to Davis. Back to Basuma on the halfway line, rolls it wide to Longley. Now it's Romero, a couple of touches, and again it's a sideways pass. It's Højbjerg now who looks for a bit more of an ambitious ball. Crossfield towards Perisic. McGinn wise to it, gets underneath it and nudges the header down to Ashley Young. Now it's Kamara for Villa. He's got 3 Spurs players around him, but has managed to get out of trouble, and McGinn skips away but then plays a loose pass which Højbjerg has been able to capitalise upon. McGinn makes amends though, wins it back. Spurs though pick it up again with Son, all a bit scrappy just outside the Villa area. Perisic now with a chance to get the cross in. Has he taken too long? Konsa gets his body between the ball and Perisic, and Villa should be able to clear their lines with Young, although his clearance upfield is sent out of play by Højbjerg. Villa throw just in front of the halfway line. Yeah,
Villa definitely making it difficult for themselves. They had numerous opportunities to get rid of the ball, clear the danger. Instead, they always look for that extra pass. Then someone taking too long on the ball, and then there's a bad pass. So there was a couple of moments there where they were just playing a little bit with fire and got away with it.
Well, Antonio Conte doesn't look too distraught at the moment. Generally, if his team aren't playing well, the players will be hearing about it from him. He's out there motioning and pointing as ever. He doesn't have a face like thunder for now. 0-0, 33 minutes gone as Kamara has it. Now Villa suddenly moving forwards. Buendia shrugs off Hill, midway inside the Tottenham half, wide to Luca Digne. Good crossing area. Watkins was in there. Watkins got the touch to the ball first, but it sent it wide. He wasn't able to get onto it, and Tottenham have been able to get it up to Hill, who's rode the challenge really well. Brian Hill now, a couple more Villa players in front of him. Can't get past any of them. He wanted a free kick. Referee says nothing doing. Kamara for Villa now. He tried to give it back to Buendia. It's slightly behind Buendia, and Tottenham have got it back once again, but they've lost possession. Really has been a hallmark of this game so far. Some scrappy play from both sides. Hill on halfway now for Tottenham, and it came off Douglas Luiz as he made the challenge throw to Tottenham. Yeah, it's been very, very scrappy. Even that last bit of phase of play there were numerous opportunities for both sides to regain control, try and play out. Said they've overplayed and lost the ball and found themselves in difficult positions again. Davis has advanced a bit to about 20 yards from goal, but has to retreat again, and now Basuma knocks it wide to Doherty in that right wing back area. Back to Basuma, who finds Romero 30 yards out from goal. Romero, and Watkins goes to just close down the space, and Tottenham go backwards of square to Basuma once again. Romero's retreated a bit further, midway inside the Villa half. Ball at his feet into the path of Doherty. Doherty backwards of square to Basuma again. Basuma finds Højbjerg. It's all a bit laboured, and just a sense of a few groans from the home supporters as well, as they see what's been a bit of a tepid performance continue. Hotspur trying to make something happen. Now Perisic into the feet of Son. Hotspur has it back once again, rolled wide to Brian Hill. Tottenham have 4 players in the area. Can Hill get the cross in? No is the answer. Buendia stands him up well, and Spurs go back to halfway with Romero.
Yeah, Buendia's handled Hill quite well so far in this first half. Every time Hill looks in a position where he tries to take him on, takes that one touch too long, Buendia's been there normally to clear up the danger.
Match day 2 tonight at 10 to 11. Highlights of both the Premier League games today, although not much to talk about here so far. 3 shots we've had in the first 35 minutes of the game, and none of them have been on target.
Yeah, but you were pumping up, Mark, saying that, you know, that Spurs had scored so many goals, had conceded so many goals in the opening part of the game, and it was almost saying like there was never going to be a 0-0.
So you're blaming me?
Yes.
Ball lopped forward towards the run of Dirty. You can't get him round the back. Here's Kane now. He's got Buendia for company, and Buendia's just buffeted him from behind, and you can hear the cheers from the home fans who feel that's a long overdue free kick given their way by John Brooks.
Yeah, what the game's missing at the moment is just that little bit of quality. There isn't anyone out there at the moment who's shown any bit of quality, any kind of bit of calmness on the ball, bit of intelligence on the ball, and it's really shown. Both sides have been guilty of it, and it's been, hence, for large parts of it, a very scrappy game.
They've not been great from their dead ball situation so far today, Spurs, which goes against the grain actually, because they've scored a joint high 10 goals from set pieces this season, along with Liverpool, as Mark Schwarzer throws his arms in the air as he thinks they'll have jinxed something once again. Son raises his arm in the air now as he gets ready to deliver this free kick, and it's in towards a good area. Longley was going for it, more up than out from Villa. Watkins is back there again. Hotspur sends it back into the mix, and Villa eventually scramble it clear with Luca Digne.
Yeah, very, very good last-ditch defending from Tyrone Mings there. Sticks out a massive big boot, gets his toe on the end of it, and is able to clear the danger.
Hotspur square to Davis, just inside the Villa half, and you can see what he was trying to do, split the 2 Villa players with the ball between the 2 of them, and John Brooks has got another yellow card out here, and it's Ben Davis who's going into the book. So that is all 3 of Tottenham's back 3 that are now in the book.
Yeah, my first initial reaction was that was a little bit late, a bit aggressive into the challenge there. Not that it was naughty, not that it was raised studs. It just seemed like, yeah, he's actually jumped into it, Ben Davies. There's no real intent though to. Well, you can see it. That's a very, very. I mean, an inch further, both studs are on Ashley Young's feet there. He's just very, very lucky.
Well, I was just waiting to see if there was any instruction from the video assistant referee, a fellow Aussie of yours, Jared Gillett, to delay proceedings, but John Brooks was able to get play back underway straight away, so they weren't looking to see if it might have merited a red rather than a yellow.
No, I don't think it does, but it's just one of those ones where it could turn red very, very easily, just by that slight mistiming of that jump into the challenge.
Villa in possession with Conser, square pass to Mings. This is all deep in the Villa half, 0-0, and it's very 0-0 so far. Here's Young on halfway for Aston Villa, in towards Bailey. Nice spin away from Davis, and they have to watch their step now, the Spurs back 3, with Longley, Romero and Davis all on cautions, and I'm sure that might be in the minds of the Villa players, especially Leon Bailey, who has that pace to get away.
Yeah, if I was Aston Villa now, certainly Ollie Watkins, Leon Bailey be targeting, the three centre halves that Spurs have there, and really be going at them, really asking them questions, putting them under pressure, knowing that they're both on, all 3 of them on yellow cards.
7 minutes of the first half left to play. Perisic left wing, Son in support. Perisic doesn't play the ball to him. Eventually he does, but by now Villa have reset and got their players back in the right places. Son slows down to walking pace and opts against trying to beat his man, goes backwards to Davis, who puts the cross in, easily cleared by Conser, although it will come the way of Clement Longley. Centre field for Spurs, square pass to Hotspur. Hotspur takes his time before knocking it to Doherty on that right side, back into Hotspur. This is all centre field for Spurs at the moment. Plenty of passing, but again forced to go backwards. And Davis now on the left-hand side, but they've made no gains in terms of yardage. They're actually further back than they were when they had the ball over on the other flank. Now brought forwards by Longley, and again Villa closing down the space and forcing the square ball. Romero has it for Spurs. And again, pass square to Longley. Longley now with a forward clip towards Perisic, who could be in. Olsen's come out to narrow the angle. Perisic now with the cross. Kane waits in the centre, gets his head to it, cleared off the line. Best moment of the game so far. Perisic couldn't beat Olsen, intelligently stood it up. Kane centred on target, and Villa clear away.
Yeah, and it had to come from Perisic, didn't it? Because he's the one player in this game that looks like he could change it. And he makes a really good run into the box. It's a nice pass over the top. He's very clever. He knows what he's doing. He's holding the ball up. He knows he can't get around Olsen. As he whips that ball back in there, it's an out-and-out jump for the ball between Kane there and Konsa, and Kane beats him, and there's a last-ditch defending on the line.
Excellent football all around there, that was, and Kane chases after the resulting corner. Kane up against Konsa. And tried to go through the legs of Konsa there, as Doherty did to Mings earlier, but Konsa just shot them in the nick of time, although Kane has helped to win it back. Basuma square to Brian Hill. Hill with a chance to drill it up towards Hotspur, and both he and Olsen sort of hesitated, hoping that it was going to go behind was Olsen. It eventually did, but if Hotspur had made a dart towards it, he might have been able to score.
That's a clear case. Hotspur just stops because he thinks he's going to get clattered by the goalkeeper. He decides, I'm not going to. He sees the keeper come out, Olsen. He stops in his tracks. Olsen then stops as well. So it's clear it's an Olsen ball. He has to take that cross. Instead, he was hesitant, and luckily for him, also was Hojbjerg.
I have to say, just seeing a replay of it now, that headed clearance off the line by Ashley Young was a really good piece of work. He had to dive forwards and also judge the fact that it was bouncing in front of him, which he did perfectly. And Olsen, I don't think, would have been able to keep it out. So a goal-saving clearance from Ashley Young, and that's the best moment we've had so far as we go into the final 4 minutes of normal time in this first half. Davis, that's put a bit of a spring in the step of the Spurs fans and perhaps the Spurs players as well. Perisic in a bit of a battle with McGinn, and McGinn's done well to just jockey it behind for a goal kick. Yeah,
McGinn did well there to put his body in between him and Perisic and the ball, so he was able to shield the ball out after Perisic has tried to knock the ball past him. But he's been the one main threat for Tottenham down his left-hand side. Perisic, he's been very good. He's looked to try and often get in behind Ashley Young, right, hugging on this touchline. Just the problem is his teammates more often than not haven't played the ball soon enough.
Cameras panning towards Emi Martinez, who's amongst the Aston Villa substitutes this afternoon. He was motioning to Olsen as to where to play the ball when he had the goal kick. I don't think he would have heard him from that kind of distance. Spurs have it with Hojbjerg, and now it's Davis inside the Tottenham half, again rolled out to Perisic on the left. Son makes the run down that left-hand side, trapped by Kamara. Son infield to Hojbjerg by the edge of the penalty area. Square ball from him finds Basuma into the feet of Brian Hill, who's closed down by Kamara, but the ball is squirted back towards Basuma. 20 yards out, Basuma finds a bit of room. Hojbjerg, Son on here for Harry Kane. Olsen out really quickly to smother at the striker's feet. Quickly off his line there to gather just as Kane was about to pull the trigger.
Yeah, very, very close. Really nice little bit of passing at the edge of the box there from Spurs. All start from Basuma. Basuma changes the pace of the game as well by his ball into the middle of the box there. And the Son's pass is just slightly in front of Kane. Kane, I think his movement doesn't allow him to stick a foot out and get a touch on it because he needed to.
0-0, but Spurs starting to warm up now with a couple of minutes to go until the break, and Son's ball in was deflected off an arm, so it's a free kick for Spurs just outside the Villa box with a couple of minutes remaining in this first half.
There was a decent ball in the box there from Son. He looks to try and whip it into that near post area. You can see on the replay, I mean, it's a little bit harsh, I think, on Ashley Young there. Don't think his arm's too far away from his body at all as he jumps to try and just put the block on, and the referee's given a free kick, and Hill almost gets on the end of the diverted shot across. You can see it there. I think it's a little bit harsh, that free kick.
Will it come to anything for Spurs? Son is the only player who looks like he's going to strike this free kick. Basuma's come short to give him an option. And nobody's picking up Basuma actually on the edge of the area, so if someone wanted to knock this short, Basuma at the edge of the box would be able to do something with it. What's Son going to do then? Left-hand side, arm in the air, just outside the Villa penalty area by the corner. Whipped goalwards by Son and gathered by Olsen. It was on target, but it was a very comfortable save.
Yeah, he's just clearly overhit it. I think he's looking for that head height, sort of whipped in cross that maybe someone will be able to get a flick on. He's just slightly overhit it, and it was an easy take in the end for Robin Olsen.
Last minute of normal time at the end of a half that has started to get interesting right at the end of it. And it's Spurs who are asking the questions. Villa will be happy to get to the interval with the score at 0-0, given the way that the half has panned out and the fact that Tottenham were just starting to get into the ascendancy, and a bit of pressure on Ashley Young as he tried to clear the ball. It came off Son last though, so it will be a throw to Villa. Unai Emery with the ball in his hand and just places it on the turf for Young to go across and collect. Young with this throw then for Villa on halfway, infield to Douglas Luiz, who with a flick of the boot sends it back to Olsen. He goes crossfield to Luca Digne up towards halfway. Buendia took it down really nicely, back to Digne, and he goes further backwards to Mings. Mings works it to the left where Luca Digne has collected for Aston Villa. Buendia has Doherty snapping at his heels, but has managed to shield the ball well, and Kamara's worked it out to that left hand side, but Romero comes across to just see it out, and actually a lovely spin from the Argentine to get away from the challenge. Really composed piece of play from him. And now the ball is with Davis on the left for Spurs, still inside their own half. Lovely couple of step overs from Son, but then Bailey has won it back off Son Heung-min. Douglas Luiz, here's Watkins. Watkins with the overlapping run from Buendia on the left into injury time at the end of the half. Buendia has gone for goal, and Lloris always knew it was going wide, just stuck out an arm to show where he thought it was going, and it's behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, I think it was quite a wide shot in the end. Lloris really wasn't troubled. It all came about with Son. Son's in a decent position with the ball, turns inside, just takes too long. There was two Villa players that swarm him, loses the ball, and that's where the counter-attack actually occurs. If Son takes that touch, plays it 1-2, then all of a sudden they're in. Spurs. Perisic is wide on the left-hand side, free, was looking to get in behind again. It's just that Son couldn't get rid of that ball.
Spurs then in possession with Longley into the feet of Bissouma into these 2 added minutes at the end of this first half. Brian Hill for Tottenham Hotspur. Backwards of square to Romero, who's on halfway. Watkins comes across to close him down, and Romero manages to shovel it back to Longley, who plays it to the other of the 3 centre-backs, Davis. Højbjerg spins 360 away from Kamara. Now it's Bissouma in towards Hill, back into the centre circle again, and Bissouma, who plays it into Perisic. Short passes from Spurs in quick succession, but again going nowhere fast. Romero tries to advance a bit further now. Last action of the half this. Can Spurs make it count? Højbjerg fires it into Son, who took it neatly, and he rolls it to Davis. Midway inside the Villa half, left-hand side, back to Bissouma again, and again you can just sense the frustration from the Tottenham fans that it's not really a passage of play that is going anywhere for them. Son, again, just the sense of dismay that he retreats, and John Brooks sort of puts us out of our misery at the end of what has been a tepid first half. I think it's fair to say, Mark Schwarzer.
It has been, yeah, it's been disappointing. Both sides really haven't had much quality out there. I mean, there's one moment there we talked about Perisic in behind, almost was able to get around Olsen, decides not to, flips it across. Kane gets a headed ball, cleared off the line. Other than that, the rest of the game was pretty much played in spits and spurts, lacking real quality.
So no New Year's Day fireworks so far here, Steve. At the break, it is Tottenham Hotspur 0, Aston Villa 0.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the messages we're getting, Mark Schwarzer, on social media. 85058 at 5LiveSport from Spurs fans. Bill says Spurs are one of the most uninspiring teams in the Premier League. Daniel, this game is exhausting. It's not helping my sore head. 0-0 written all over it. The thing is, 12 of Spurs' last 13 Premier League goals have been in the second half. They are a second half team. It would be no surprise to see them totally transform, would it?
No, there wouldn't be. Absolutely not. I don't think they could have played, well, I'm not going to say much worse, but certainly uninspiringly and quite slow paced. There were moments there where too many players took too much time on the ball, too many touches rather than looking to play off. look, the ball can do the ball's the quickest. You let the ball do the running. Players just need to give and go. They just didn't do enough of that in that first half. Allowed Villa to get back into defensive shape too soon. Likewise, when Villa had the ball, too slow in getting the ball forward. There was a couple of, like, one or two moments where they actually were a bit quicker in getting the ball forward. They then did cause Spurs a few problems that just wasn't often enough.
Villa will be happy, I'm sure, with that first half. Mark, thank you very much. A half-time then, Tottenham 0, Aston Villa 0. We'll bring you second half commentary. It's going to get better, I promise. Then we've got Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea in full at 4:30. So we'll speak to correspondent John Murray and Charlie Adam very, very shortly. We'll also look ahead to the games this afternoon in the EFL. And we'll be at Northampton against Harlequins in the Gallagher Premiership, which is live on 5 Sports Extra from 3 o'clock. Lots of games getting underway in 10 minutes' time, and second half commentary to come from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. All of that after the latest news on 5 Live with Stuart Clarkson.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Russia has continued its attacks on Ukraine with a string of New Year's Day drone strikes. Ukrainian forces claim they shot down dozens of the devices which targeted Kyiv and energy infrastructure. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has told the BBC there's every indication Moscow is preparing to launch more attacks.
We need to be prepared for long haul, because what we have seen is that Russia has shown no sign of giving up its overall goal of taking control over Ukraine. The Ukrainian forces have had the momentum for several months, but we also know that Russia has mobilized many more forces. Many of them are now training. All that indicates that they are prepared to continue the war.
The British prosecutor who led the case against the former Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic has called for President Putin to be put on trial for war crimes this year because of Russia's actions in Ukraine. Sir Geoffrey Nice says it's surprising people in authority are not condemning the Russian president. The government says more than 45,000 migrants crossed the Channel to the UK last year. That's an increase from around 28,000 in 2021, but lower than the 60,000 arrivals the Home Office had previously estimated. Kim Jong-un has called for a huge increase in North Korea's nuclear arsenal in response to perceived threats from South Korea and the US. He said his country would focus on mass-producing tactical nuclear weapons and would develop an intercontinental ballistic missile system capable of a quick nuclear counterstrike. Pope Francis addressed worshippers in St Peter's Square during a New Year's Day service in Rome. His predecessor Benedict XVI will lie in state at the Vatican from tomorrow until his funeral on Thursday. Here's our correspondent Bethany Bell.
Pope Francis began this Angelus prayer praying for Mary's intercession for Pope Emeritus Benedict, who died yesterday. And also he said, let us thank God for the gift of this servant of the Church and the Gospel.
And around 1,000 performers from across the world have been taking part in a New Year's Day parade in London. 500,000 people were expected to line the streets to watch the celebration.
On BBC iPlayer.
This is not a game, it's an opportunity of a lifetime. The world's now open for business. I'm sending you to the magnificent Caribbean island of Antigua.
Oh my God!
One of you will be gone before your postcards get back.
The Apprentice.
There's no VAR in here. I make the final decision.
Starts this Thursday on BBC iPlayer. This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
Right, we've got second half commentary of Spurs versus Aston Villa on the way on Premier League Sunday. Thus far, very, very 0-0. Not the best start to 2023, but it will get better. At 4:30, we're bringing you full commentary of Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. That's where we find our correspondent John Murray. Happy New Year, John.
Yes, Happy New Year, Steve.
And Nottingham Forest have been very quiet since midnight in the transfer market, haven't they?
Still plenty of time.
Yes, give them
no doubt there'll be a signing during the game.
Yes, give them a chance. Well, we'll see what happens over the course of the next month, but most pressing is what happens on the field today. They're obviously in the relegation zone. Need all of the points that they can get, and also just right round the corner on Wednesday is a game for Nottingham Forest at Southampton, who are the only team below them in the Premier League at the moment. So that has got the makings of a very, very big game.
And a Happy New Year to you, Charlie Adam.
Happy New Year.
Do you think it will be for Nottingham Forest?
Well, the game today is I think is a tough game for Chelsea. Nottingham Forest are at home. It's a new year, a wounded animal. This is an electric place when it gets going, but they have to try and find the solutions. And you look at what Chelsea have, an array of talent, and can come here and can dominate the ball. But they'll need the crowd, because at times they will suffer today, no doubt about it, but they've got to stick with the team. And then the game comes Wednesday night is a huge game, for both clubs. But you just focus on what happens today, and Steve will be obviously disappointed in terms of where they are, but it's just the upheaval of players that's come into the football club over the summer. Just probably not got the rhythm what they wanted.
Chelsea got a huge game coming up in the week as well, because they've got Manchester City in the Premier League, John. I mean, it's the second game back after the World Cup break, and they won the first of them, and yet behind the scenes at Chelsea, do you just feel there is negative mumblings, negative feelings perhaps?
Well, the next two matches are against Manchester City. Yeah. So Premier League on Thursday, then the FA Cup on Sunday. I covered their last match before the World Cup, when that was a third consecutive Premier League defeat, when they lost at Newcastle, and it just felt like the wrong match at the wrong time for them. They had the look of a team that really needed a break, and I think maybe Graham Potter needed a break as well. And at that stage, he'd been in charge for only 14 matches. But he's tried a lot of things, and obviously things started off well in terms of he was unbeaten in his first 9 matches. But then, if you remember, there came that big defeat against his old club, Brighton, when they lost 4-1 there. And since then, I think that there have been the rumblings that you're talking about. But, just to underline, they won against Bournemouth on Tuesday. So that was his 15th match in charge. It is very, very early days.
I think the thing for Graham is difficult is that he has so many good players to pick from. At Brighton, he had, 14, 15 players that he would use regular. But now he can pick, he's got a choice from 20 odd players. And then all of a sudden, listen, fair play to Todd Bowlett, he's come in, they said they would spend money. But and then all of a sudden I seen him linked today with Enzo Fernandez, over 100 million. It's just, Graham will be thinking, let me get a settled side, and then to keep bringing in these big players, it's going to be difficult. And I just think that at the moment, like John said, I don't think he's found his right team. He's not found the right solutions, and he's got to do it quick, because Chelsea Football Club will move on quickly, and that's what happens. That's what's happened previously, and it will keep happening, because there's an array of talented managers out there that they might get the right manager eventually, and they have no thought about getting rid of managers and moving them on.
And that is just it. In that, at Brighton, to get to where he got to with that team, a very good team that he had at the start of this season, back end of last season, when they finished in 6th place, wasn't it, in the 9th place in the Premier League. That took time. There were 2 seasons and more of putting that together, and also a proper club strategy at Brighton. And he's come into a team and a club at Chelsea that are just under new management, who are finding their feet.
Yeah, and like you say, they're trying to rebuild the football club in behind, in terms of losing Petr Cech, Marina went, and a lot of big people that have been there previously. Now Todd Bowlett is trying to find these people to fit into that way of thinking, and also Graham's got to try and get results on the pitch as well, but also deal with the issues off the pitch. So it's a tough job for him, but he deserves that opportunity. He's done a wonderful job at Brighton, and he has over his career built it up from where he started. And we are here today that in Chelsea you're expected to win titles, you're expected to be in the Champions League, and we'll see what performance they bring today.
And they're currently 19 points behind the leaders, Chelsea. Not halfway through the season.
And as you say, Charlie, Petr Cech's gone. The man who's replaced him as technical director was actually a guest on our EuroLeague show, but long before the World Cup, when he was at RB Leipzig. Christopher Vivell, the new man.
So you're saying that you got him the job?
Absolutely, Charlie. that is correct. You come on 5 Live and things just happen for you, as you know.
Exactly.
35 years old. Huge job for him. How high on the agenda should a centre forward be? Because I take your point when you talk about the array of talent they have, but is it working with Aubameyang? Do they need somebody else?
They need somebody else. It's plain to see. Aubameyang is, was at Arsenal, went to Barcelona and Chelsea. That was the short-term fix. They need a long-term fix. They need somebody for the long term. Back in the day when they bought the Drogbas and people like that come in and were here long-term and scored goals, they need somebody to go and find that player that can do it. It costs a lot of money. There's not many around, especially in January. So we'll see what they can muscle up in the next month or so. And Chelsea desperately need a striker. Havertz is not the answer as a number 9 and trying to score the goals, but if they can find one, then they'll have to pay a lot of money.
The last time they had a striker who scored 20 Premier League goals in a season, that was when they won the league. and they've not had one since.
Diego Costa.
Correct.
There you go. John, Charlie, thank you very much indeed. John Murray and Charlie Adam will be your commentary team for Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea at 4:30 in today's early game in the Championship. Blackburn beat Cardiff 1-0 to strengthen their grip on third place. There are 4 3:00 kickoffs, including at the Den. Millwall could end the day in the playoffs with a win over Rotherham United. Aaron Paul.
Happy New Year, Steve, and welcome to deep South London, where playoff ambitions are very much on the radar, but consistency isn't. Put simply, every time Millwall work themselves into an excitable position, they somehow seem to fluff their lines and work themselves back out. They've drawn their last 3 at home, but take on a Rotherham side very much on the slide, having recorded just winning their 1 win in their last 11. Bartosz Białkowski, he's back in goal for the Lions as part of 3 changes to the side that dropped points here against Bristol City midweek. Former Lions Shane Ferguson starts for Rotherham.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Other 3:00 in the Championship: Blackpool, Sunderland, Coventry, Bristol City, Huddersfield, Luton. 16 games across League 1 and League 2 and another 8 in the National League. Rugby Union and Joe Marler will miss Harlequins' trip to Northampton in the Gallagher Premiership this afternoon. This follows the abusive comments he made to Bristol's Jake Heenan last week. Sarah Orchard will be watching this one.
Yeah, and Harlequins, they've certainly made those unwanted headlines in the build-up to this fixture, and that means that 2-game ban for Marler sees Jordan Ells come into the bench for the travelling side, and they're looking to bounce back after losing that Christmas fixture to Bristol just 5 days ago. As for Northampton, they've got their own trouble. 7th in the table, that sounds comfortable, but they're actually only 3 points off the bottom. It's so tight, and they haven't won a league game since the 4th of November. They've made a few changes as Fraser Dingwall returns to the backs, with Paul Hill and Alex Moon also returning to the pack.
Sarah, thank you very much indeed. Some other news for you, some really sad news. The former Celtic and St Mirren forward Frank McGarvey has died at the age of 66 following a battle with cancer. McGarvey won the Scottish Cup with St Mirren and 2 league titles, 3 domestic cups with Celtic. All our thoughts with his friends and family. Scores so far today then in the football in the Championship: Blackburn Rovers victorious over Cardiff City by 1-0. Big games down at the bottom of the league as well. Huddersfield just inside the relegation zone against Luton. Coventry could end the day back in the top 6 at Millwall, Rotherham United as well. We'll keep you up to date with them and all of the games across the EFL and the National League. We've got second half commentary on the way from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Mark Scott and Mark Schwarzer there. Mark Schwarzer, can only get better.
Let's hope so. It needs to, because it hasn't been great at all. It's been like one moment probably in the game where we felt that maybe something will happen here. Kane's chance, cleared off the line by Ashley Young. Other than that, it's been pretty average.
Villa will be happy, won't they, we should say, with that?
I think so, yes. I think in terms of containment, nullifying most of Tottenham's any kind of sort of reasonable or meaningful attacks, they've done that well. I think they actually should have taken the game more to Tottenham. I thought there was more opportunities for Spurs for Villa, to get hold of the ball, to really ask some more questions and put Tottenham under some pressure. Certainly with all 3 of their centre halves now on yellow cards, there might be an opportunity for Villa to really go at them.
They've been such a second half team. Will we see Tottenham transform? Can Aston Villa carry on the good work from the first half? Mark Schwartz's with Mark Scott.
Thanks very much indeed, Steve. Tottenham have scored 15 goals in the opening hour of Premier League matches. 18 goals from the 61st minute onwards. And speaking of minutes, it was interesting to see that Harry Kane didn't have a touch of the ball in the first 20 minutes, which is pretty incredible, and I guess says a lot about how that first half panned out, Mark.
Yeah, very much so. I think it was a very frustrating figure up front for Tottenham. There were times there, certainly in the latter stages of that first half, where he started to come into that deeper position. We see him do that a lot with England, where he drops a lot deeper to try and look for the ball, and he was doing that more and more as the half wore on.
You'll certainly get a touch of the football here, because Harry Kane is going to take the kick-off at the start of the second half. No changes in terms of personnel from either manager during the interval, so I'll run you through the lineups, with Spurs having Lloris in goal, Longley, Romero and Davis their back 3. All 3 of those are on yellow cards. Perisic, the left wing back, Højbjerg and Basuma in the middle, with Doherty on the right flank, Hill, Kane and Son leading their line. I'll give you the Villa side in a minute, but Tottenham are on the attack with Basuma on the right flank, backwards of square to Christian Romero infield to Højbjerg for Tottenham. In the centre circle now with Longley, wide it goes to Davis, and immediately Spurs look like they're playing a lot higher up the pitch in terms of where they're forcing the Villa players to retreat to if they're going to pick up a man. Here's Romero, who's halfway inside the Villa half, and there's a free kick given for something on Tyrone Mings, which I didn't spot.
No, I didn't really spot it, but it was Harry Kane obviously going across and either accidentally tripping him, maybe a bit of a shoulder barge, I'm not quite sure. And Tyrone Mings goes to the floor, and the referee again was very much on the spot and was quick to give the free kick.
So Villa,
you see it there. Sorry,
yeah.
You just see it on the replay there. Harry Kane actually runs in behind Tyrone Mings, and as Tyrone Mings tries to drop, he just drops his shoulder a little bit in the back of Tyrone Mings and puts him on the floor.
Robin Olsen, the Villa keeper's clearance is cut out by Perisic, who's picked it up again, left-hand side. Spurs look a bit more on the front foot. Kane tries to get the cross in, blocked by Kamara, and Ashley Young over there is challenged by Harry Kane by the corner flag, and Kane's won it back for Spurs. Bit more bite about Tottenham in the early stages of this second half. Here is Romero in centre field, quickly closed down by Watkins, and now Bissouma brings it forwards. Useful ball from him into Son, who tried to backheel it to Brian Hill, and the bounce nearly went his way by the D of the area. He challenges Ezri Konsa, and now it's Emi Buendia, who's down by his own penalty area. Villa a bit hemmed in the opening minutes of this second half. Romero challenging Watkins, and has a quick word with Ollie Watkins for what he feels was a bit of a dive by the Villa forwards. Son midway inside the Villa half. This certainly feels like an improvement from Tottenham as Bissouma rolls it to the D of the area. Kane gives it back to Bissouma, nearly came back the way of Harry Kane, and Mings clears away. So Villa with Olsen in goal, Digne, Mings, Konsa and Young their back four, with Buendia, Luiz, Kamara and McGinn in midfield, Watkins and Bailey up front for them. And Spurs on the front foot, early stages of the second half here. The score still 0-0 between Spurs and Villa. The best chance of the game, the only real chance of the game, in the first half when Kane's header was cleared off the line by Young. Here's Doherty now for Tottenham by the corner of the area, forced to retreat slightly. Basuma has it centre field, floated towards the far post. Perisic was waiting, but so was Young, and now the ball's worked its way up to Bailey, taken off his toes by Ben Davis, and Davis and Bailey in a bit of a tussle there. Bailey wanted the free kick, and John Brooks shakes his head. Tottenham have it with Højbjerg in the centre circle. Now it's Bissouma into the path of Romero, takes it and plays it quickly, and there's certainly a feeling that Spurs are getting the ball forwards quicker than they did in that first period.
Yeah, they're looking to get the ball out wider sooner, and that was obviously clear in the first half. There were numerous opportunities where they could have done so. They were just way too slow. Now they just seem to be missing out that extra pass, and it makes a difference so far in this early stages of this second half.
Well, there are 4 3 o'clock kickoffs in the Championship. One of them is at the Den, Millwall against Rotherham, and a goal for Aaron Paul.
Millwall 1, Rotherham 0. Easy as you like for the home side. Callum Stiles with a free kick halfway inside the Rotherham half. He swung it in, and it was a free header for Tom Bradshaw 12 yards out. Millwall 1, Rotherham 0.
And there's been a try in the rugby. Sarah Orchard.
It's Northampton 7, Harlequins 0. Just 5 minutes on the clock and a really strong start for the home side. They've really got the bit between their teeth as Alex Waller powered over on 4 minutes. Northampton 7, Harlequins 0.
Goalless between Spurs and Villa here with 4 minutes gone in the second half. Full commentary of Nottingham Forest against Chelsea to come. That's a 4:30 kick-off with John Murray and Charlie Adam at the City Ground. Villa with their first taste of the ball in the Tottenham half in this second half, and Douglas Luiz in centre field with it for them. He might have a go at goal here from distance. It's on target. Lloris has spilt it. Watkins gets there. Can Watkins put it in? It's Buendia. It's in. Aston Villa have the lead. Emi Buendia for Villa. He runs over to celebrate with the away fans. Buendia was sharp, so was Watkins, but I think Lloris will be disappointed with his error. The returning World Cup finalist makes the mistake, and Villa have the lead.
Yeah, it was a really decent shot from distance there. You could see as he lined up Douglas Luiz, you knew there it was going to be one of those ones that was going to take an awkward bounce. It was a ball that he hit with a bit of whip on it. As it takes that bounce off the turf in front of Hugo Lloris, he just looks a little bit uncertain as to what to do with it. And it pops up. I think actually Hugo Lloris gets too low on the ball, and it pops up and he can't hold on to it. Ollie Watkins was the quickest to react. As he does, he manages to get the ball back across square, and Buendia just smashes in the bottom corner, and it comes from absolutely nowhere.
Well, it looked as though a shot from that kind of range was going to be a bit of a waste of time, but it turned out to be the right call, and Buendia on hand to score the goal. Brilliant work from Watkins as the Smoke comes out of the away end. We see that so often now. A flare from the travelling fans has landed just by the edge of the pitch. It's his first goal since scoring in the win against Everton in August for the Argentinian. And although Spurs made the faster start to the second half, it's Villa who have the opening goal of this game. And Tottenham are going to need yet another second half showing, and they have fallen behind in a game yet again. Conceded first in 7 straight Premier League matches now. So Antonio Conte's issues with them falling behind continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one, but it's a frustrating one for Conte, because it's a shot from distance that really shouldn't be troubling Spurs, and unfortunately for Hugo Lloris, he gets that one wrong. He's not able to hold on to it. It bounces back off him. He tries to regather, can't get there quick enough. Ollie Watkins pounces, lays it off, and it's a Buendia finish. So it really is against the run of play, and it is frustration for Antonio Conte, because it didn't deserve to be 1-0 down.
A couple of goals to tell you about in League One. Forest Green leading Port Vale by 1-0, and Plymouth have taken the lead against MK Dons, 1-0 to them in that one. Here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it's 1-0 to Aston Villa, and it's the travelling fans in good voice at the moment. Here is Davis over the halfway line, slips it into Perisic. Feels like we've got a game on now. Ball in is well gathered by Olsen, who came forwards and claimed the ball on the bounce on the penalty spot.
Yeah, good goalkeeping there. There was good communication there, because Tyrone Mings was making that run back, trying to pick up Harry Kane. He's in a good position there, but instead Robin Olsen comes out. He's very commanding, smothers it, holds on to it, and it was a very good save.
Conceded the opening goal now in 10 successive matches in all competitions. Haven't scored the opening goal in a game, Spurs, since they won here against Everton in mid-October. It's got the potential to become a bit of a mental thing as well, hasn't it?
I think it does, yeah. I think it definitely can play its part. Certainly when you go to 10 games now, you're saying that they've found themselves behind in, that definitely starts to play with you in your mind. You're starting to think the minute you go out on a pitch, you're going to concede firstly, and it's certainly one that they're going to have to try and overcome at some stage.
In League Two, Doncaster are 1-0 up against Carlisle, and Harrogate have taken the lead. They're 1-0 up away at Hartlepool. Here's Konsa for Aston Villa. Well, it's not what Spurs fans wanted, but in terms of the watchable aspect of this game, that goal from Buendia has injected something into this match, and it's not going to be as tame as we saw before the break.
No, it's not, and you can see with Villa already it's made a big difference, because it's lifted the team. Obviously the Villa supporters are in fine voice now, and Villa have actually come out of their shell a little bit in the start of this second half, and they feel like they're on the front foot. They win a free kick in halfway in the middle of Spurs half, and now can put some more pressure on the Tottenham defence.
So it's a free kick now for Villa, which John McGuinness over, midway inside the Tottenham half, right of centre as they look at it. And Tottenham already getting frustrated with the amount of time McGinn's taking over this free kick. Plays it to Douglas Luiz, who spins it to the far post. Mings gets the header down. It's broken for Kamara inside the area, and it's come back towards Mings. Could perhaps get a shot away here. Kamara still has it. Hill in attendance. Boubacar Kamara just ran out of room in the end, and Hill has got it for Spurs. Too much on it though for Harry Kane. Easy for Ashley Young. The obvious ball is back to his keeper Olsen, and Olsen out of his area. Has the ball at his feet and knocks it into the path of Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz deep in the Villa half with the arrowed pass out to Luca Digne, who controls it smack bang on the halfway line. Infield to Kamara, and now Mings, and he's opted to go all the way back to his keeper again. Different game to the first half, and not just because of the goal. Spurs, their approach at the start of the second half was a lot more attacking.
Yeah, a lot more positive. They're on the front foot. They were causing Aston Villa some sort of concern, and they were just sort of looking like they were starting to hit a bit of momentum, and all of a sudden Villa from nowhere find themselves 1-0 ahead, and the whole complex of the game is completely changed.
Mark Schwarzer watching this game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which Villa are leading by 1-0 with 10 minutes gone in the second half. Emi Buendia with the goal after what I think will go down as a Hugo Lloris error, as he spilled a long-range effort from Douglas Luiz, and great work really from Ollie Watkins to present the chance to Buendia. And Buendia has picked up the ball now after an errant pass out wide from Perisic. Buendia with Basuma on his shoulder has worked it into Douglas Luiz, and that's a useful ball from him. Arced out towards the right flank. McGinn will control. Perisic, though, takes it off him. Stuck out a leg and now has room to work with. Brings it forwards. Perisic urged on by the home fans, but the pass has come through for Harry Kane. Kane just hesitated before deciding what to do, and by the time he offloaded, the opportunity had gone, but he was clipped, and it will be a free kick, and it will be a yellow card as well for the challenge by Mings.
Yeah, you can see Tyrone Mings, he knows full well what happened there, and he doesn't argue with the referee at all, and he walks straight back towards Harry Kane to apologise for that challenge on him.
Yeah, Kane with the ball forwards that wasn't going to reach his teammate, so it's benefit for Spurs that there was the foul on him that has given them the free kick. Hojbjerg will take it for them and knocks it short to Basuma, 40 yards out from goal. Square to Son, who's about 35 yards out, back to Hojbjerg again, square to Basuma. Almost all the players are in a line by the edge of the penalty area. Now it's floated in and they've all missed it, and Perisic is there and puts it over the bar. Well, it was an awkward one the way it bounced, but Perisic's reaction as he's down on the turf at the moment suggests that he knows he should have done better.
Yeah, he should have done better. He has to hit the target from there. It's a really nice little ball over the top. Is it Kamara there? Looks like he dinks that ball over the top. And it's a really, it's actually Basuma, sorry. He knocks that ball over the top there, and Perisic takes a good touch, gets in a good position. He is slightly lunging though, and he can't get over the top of it, and therefore is over the crossbar.
Spurs trailing by a goal to nil and have a free kick here for a challenge on halfway. John Brooks just trying to restore some order as it's got a bit niggly out there. Romero with the ball at his feet after the free kick was taken short. Here's Hojbjerg for Tottenham, knocks it across the halfway line to pick out Ben Davis. Perisic waiting on that left again. He's used him as a decoy though, and now Brian Hill has gone over under pressure from Luca Digne. The home fans wanted a free kick on the edge of the box, but John Brooks saw nothing wrong with the challenge. Doherty nods it infield towards Hojbjerg on halfway for Tottenham. Tottenham trailing once again. Once again they've conceded the opening goal in a game just before the hour mark, with Villa leading 1-0. Longley for Tottenham in the centre circle. Short to Romero, just over halfway now. Infield to Basuma for Spurs. Basuma looking for an option, then decides to do it himself and darts through the middle. Gets the ball from Perisic, looking for the 1-2. He felt he was body checked. Referee didn't, so Villa have it with McGinn. McGinn, nice control from him, and then a flat pass into the path of Kamara, who's got room to work with here. Basuma nibbling at him, and he's taken him from behind there. Basuma's going to get a booking here for that challenge.
Yeah, it's just a silly challenge. Doesn't need to. It's not a bad challenge by any means. He's just run over crossed behind his feet there and clips him as he goes through Kamara, and just gives a free kick away. He doesn't need to. Romero's there, he's got him under control. Instead, Basuma gives away a free kick in a relatively dangerous position.
And that booking means that Basuma will be banned for the Crystal Palace game at Selhurst Park in midweek. Bradford have taken the lead against Salford. They're 1-0 up in that one. Full commentary to come from the City Ground, Nottingham Forest against Chelsea, 4:30, that one on 5 Live Sport. Here with just under an hour played, it's Spurs 0, Villa 1, and it's a Villa free kick for that challenge by Basuma that has earned him his 5th yellow of the campaign and the suspension for the game against Palace in midweek. And there's a brains trust going on at the moment. 6 Villa players are all over this free kick. Don't know if they all fancy a go at goal. It's a similar sort of distance from which Douglas Luiz forced that error from Lloris, where he spilled it and Villa took the lead. Douglas Luiz is over it and looks like he's going to strike this one as well. McGinn in attendance too, but Douglas Luiz looks favourite, winding up for a long range hit here, taking his time. Douglas Luiz goes for goal, deflected off the wall and behind for a corner kick. In the Championship, Coventry are 1-0 up against Bristol City. Earlier on it finished Blackburn 1, Cardiff 0 as well, and we heard from Aaron Paul, Millwall leading Rotherham by 1-0 too. Those games in the EFL all kicking off at 3 o'clock. We've played an hour here, and Villa have this corner now after that deflected free kick. Hugo Lloris jumping up and down his line with Kamara just in front of him, trying to distract him, as the corner will be sent in. Well, it will eventually be sent in as Young re-spots it once again, and the Spurs fans growing more and more frustrated with what they see as Villa's time-wasting tactics. Arm in the air from Young. Down in front of the Aston Villa supporters, whips it in towards the near post, well met by Longley. His clearance has come to McGinn, who's passed his paw. It's straight to Son. Son bursting forwards up towards halfway. A cluster of Villa players go across to close him down, but he gets it back from Harry Kane and is away on the left-hand side. But Young judged it really well, sliding in, makes the challenge. Out it goes for a throw to Spurs, level with the Villa area, but that's got the home fans going now. Kane knocks it infield towards Basuma. Basuma with the crossfield ball collected by Doherty. Villa felt there was an offside. Doherty wasn't flagged though. It's off Luca Digne and it's behind for a Spurs corner.
Yeah, Villa's recovery was exceptional from that corner there. As they lost possession, then McGinn slips over and Spurs looked to break, but you could see it was like 4 or 5 Villa players sprinting to get back into place, and as they do, they put Spurs under pressure. Ashley Young was in a perfect position as well to make the challenge, so it was very, very good defending by Spurs, by Villa, sorry.
Scored the most goals from corners in the Premier League this season, 10 coming from them for Tottenham, as Perisic gets ready to deliver, but not until the referee has just had a word with Emi Buendia, the man who got the opening goal here after coming together with Davis. He, I think, is claiming that there was an elbow from Davis, who is one of those who needs to watch his step, having picked up that yellow card earlier. John Brooks satisfied that it's all sorted, so Perisic can now take this corner kick. In it goes from Perisic. Olsen thought about coming, then doesn't need to worry about it because it's too long for anyone in white, and goes behind for a goal kick. Bradford 1, Salford 1 now, and Sutton are 1-0 up against Wimbledon, with Wickham taking the lead away at Peterborough. We will go for an update in the rugby in a minute, but there's a Tottenham change taking place at the moment, and Ryan Sessegnon is coming on for Brian Hill. So let's get an update from Sarah Orchard at Northampton against Harlequins.
Northampton 14, Harlequins nil. 18 minutes on the clock now. Harum scarum stuff from the Saints, who are starting this year with a bang. The second try came through wing James Round. Have to say, Quins haven't fired a shot. It's Northampton 14, Quins nil.
And what about the Den? Millwall Rotherham, Aaron Paul.
Millwall 1, Rotherham 0. The home side very much in control, playing some excellent attacking football as we cross the 18-minute mark. Zian Fleming has just fired a shot into the arms of Victor Johansson, who's been busy in the Rotherham net. Millwall 1, Rotherham 0.
Basuma for Tottenham Hotspur, trailing Villa by a goal to nil with 63 minutes gone. Buendia now room to work with 30 yards out from goal. Basuma on his shoulder, works it forward. It's Watkins across goal. Didn't come the way of Bailey, who was waiting in the 6-yard box. Didn't really catch it, Watkins, as he let fly from about 8 yards out. That was a good chance for Villa.
It was a very good chance. You could see there Spurs were caught out a little bit. They sort of ball watched a bit. They kept dropping deeper. Watkins has a chance, but it's a really good last-ditch block. You can see there Doherty gets back into play really well.
Well, the ball has broken to Watkins inside the area once again, looking for the space to get the shot away. Angle against him, deflected away and kept in play. It almost came to Kamara. Sessegnon back there helping out. Spurs looking a bit shaky at the back in the last couple of minutes as they get it forwards into the Villa half, and Mings sends it all the way back to Olsen, who's taking his time, and Kane nearly took it off his toes.
Yeah, it was very, very close there from Olsen. Took his time. He did it right at the beginning of the game as well. Just slightly took his time too much. Almost got blocked. Same thing happened now again. You could see there, Emery on the sideline going absolutely crazy towards him, telling him to hurry it up.
What do you make of Sessegnon coming on for Hill?
Well, it's a bit of a reshape, isn't it? So Sessegnon's going to be a sort of a left wing back position. Perisic just come inside now on the sort of more on the right side, but tucked in. So he's going to be in a more advanced position.
McGinn back there helping out the Villa defence and going to ground, and that's a very cleverly won free kick from McGinn, which has wound up the Spurs players and fans, and Villa of course in no hurry to take it at all, with 65 gone and Villa leading here by a goal to nil.
Probably the way they're set up now is probably how I would have thought they would play, with Sessegnon at left wing back and Perisic more in advanced position. Perisic, I think, as a left sort of wing back is sort of almost wasted in that sort of position. I know he's great out wide getting balls into the box, but I think in this Spurs side you really need him to be in a more advanced position.
And we're going to see a Villa change now, and a bit like the reshape that came about from the change with Sessegnon onto Hill, with Bailey coming off for Villa and Matty Cash coming on. That'll be a reshape as well.
Yeah, it will be. I think again it's Emery looking at it going, we're going to try and shore things up a little bit, not allow Tottenham any real momentum into the game, bring on more of a defensive minded player.
It's now Plymouth 1, MK Dons 1 in League One. There was a game played earlier in the Championship. Blackburn beat Cardiff by 1-0. Villa again receiving some derision for taking their sweet time over a free kick, and John Brooks has had enough, and Ezri Konsa has gone into the book for time wasting. That's Mings and Konsa now, both on yellows for the away side. Konsa now has delegated responsibility for the free kick to Olsen, who is a lot quicker in getting it upfield. Davis underneath it, wins the header. It's broken for Ben Deer, just outside the box. Good challenge on him, though, to nick it away as he was about to chance his arm from distance. Son Heung-min with the sweeping pass across to Doherty, up towards Perisic. He gives it back to Doherty. Kane on the chase here on the right wing. Has collected the ball. Mings comes across to deal with him. Harry Kane, crossing position perhaps. It's a looping one, and Olsen just backpedals and then makes a comfortable gather.
Yeah, he does well, Olsen. Really, really well. So often we see a goalkeeper struggle to get to that ball. It was right in the far post, high up. It was probably going to sneak into that far post there, but he uses his feet really well and actually makes it look very simple.
Midway point in the second half. Aston Villa a goal up against Spurs. Watkins through the centre, and Villa looking like they're just playing him through the middle now, and change in shape from them. Cash over to the far side of a back five as we look at it now, with Young slotting in to join those centre halves, Konsa and Mings in the middle. Unai Emery readjusting to try and see if his side can see this out with just that 1-0 advantage. Davis towards Højbjerg, edge of the area. Son and Kane! Well, he fluffs his lines. Came down to Harry Kane about 12 yards out, and as he went to ground he tried to hook the shot goalwards but got the angle all wrong, and it just floated over the top and away.
Yeah, it's just the way the ball was flicked up to him. It was kind of like it was a misdirected pass that ends up looping up towards him, spinning away and up again. Kane found it really difficult. It was all about timing, trying to get his timing up, hitting the ball with a downward momentum. Instead he gets it wrong and just skies it wide.
It's now Blackpool 1, Sunderland 0 in the Championship, as Kamara has it inside the centre circle for Villa. Well, Steve Crossman said it could only get better, and he's been proved right. It's been so much better in the second half, and Cash has done really well to get the ball in from by the byline, offloaded to Douglas Luiz, who's smacked goalwards, is blocked by Basuma, balloons up into the air. Son controls and gives it back to Højbjerg, dispossessed though. Douglas Luiz outside the area, little pirouette from him into the feet of Buendia, and Cash now goes back to Young for Aston Villa, who are in no hurry to get the ball forwards. Shuffled back to Mings, who comes up towards halfway, poked with the outside of his boot to Luca Digne, to just in front of Unai Emery, who's well outside his technical area and almost Saturday Night Fever style motioning from him as to where he wants his players to be. Here is Konsa in the centre circle for Villa. Now it's Tyrone Mings, closed down by Perisic, scoops it forwards looking for Watkins, cut out by Davis, and then Højbjerg goes down after a challenge from Kamara. Advantage played, Perisic midway inside the Villa half, in towards Son on the turn, looked offside perhaps, no flag for now. Son, and now the flag does go up because the move was halted, and the assistant on this near side, Konstantin Hatzidakis, raises his flag, and Villa have the free kick. And Konsa's just bent over double at the moment. I'm not sure what's up with him, but again the Spurs fans are a bit suspicious about if there's actually anything wrong with him.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of frustration amongst the Tottenham players. You can see there's Son on that occasion. Yes, he was offside. It was frustration because the ball wasn't played to him sooner. He made a run. He was trying to hold his line, and the ball, once it finally did come to him after a couple of touches, he's obviously straight off in the offside position. And that's pretty much been the way that Spurs have been this entire game.
Tottenham trailing 1-0, and it's the first time they've conceded the opening goal in 7 straight Premier League games since the 2010-11 season. Digne's throw for Villa in towards Kamara. A very impressive start to life under Unai Emery for Villa, if they can see this one out. That victory over Manchester United at Villa Park. This will be another of the big boys that they would have got one over on, and Buendia of the area, lovely swivel to get some space, almost lost his footing as he cut back inside, and then the Rabona pass towards the penalty spot. Longley was in the right place. Really good invention and improvisation from the Argentine, the man whose goal separates the sides with 20 minutes of the 90 left to play. Kamara goes backwards to Ashley Young infield to Kamara, and his pass almost let Harry Kane get in. Consta tidies things up and plays it to Mings, who's buffeted by Perisic, but Villa have worked it forwards, and McGinn was trying to play, and Lucadinha didn't have enough on the ball though, and Doherty steps in for Spurs on halfway, closed down by Kamara, so no forward pass was on for him. Basuma now launches it to the left, but there's too much on that for Sessegnon or Son, and you can hear the groans from the home fans as that pass just goes out of play.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of desperate sort of feel to the game for Tottenham at the moment. Their fans obviously feeling the frustration of that wayward pass, but there's been moments there again where they get the ball in a decent position, and then the next pass is the one where they're wasteful, just not on point at the moment.
Cameras have picked out Dejan Kulusevski, not in the Spurs squad today after he suffered an ankle injury in training yesterday, and how they've missed the kind of spark that he provides today.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, I mean, he's been a really good signing since he's arrived at the club, and he's someone that they certainly could have done with today.
Sessegnon trying to make some inroads on the left-hand side, just tugs back on Ashley Young, who's poked it towards Cash, who smashes it up towards halfway. He's going to go out of play for a throw to Spurs just inside the Villa half. Now it's Romero just inside the Tottenham half of the pitch, who plays it square to Højbjerg. He's got room to work with here, Højbjerg, and has made some good ground. Now offloads to Doherty. Good shape from Villa though, who have got every claret and blue shirt back behind the ball. Davies sends it wide. We'll get the team news from the City ground shortly as Sessegnon launches this one in, and Olsen comes to collapse on the ball and then falls to the turf. So a good chance to get the team news from the City ground and John Murray.
And confirmation there is no Jesse Lingard for Forest. He's out with a hamstring injury, but Morgan Gibbs-White makes a surprise early return from injury to replace him. The only other change for Forest is in goal, where Henderson comes back in for Hennessy, and Chelsea's only change is Azpilicueta in for the injured James, but Kovacic and Ziyech are both back as subs after the World Cup.
Thank you very much, John. John will be on commentary duty at the City ground with Charlie Adam for Nottingham Forest against Chelsea, which is a 4:30 kickoff. Couple of other goals in League One. Charlton are 1-up away at Portsmouth, and Fleetwood have taken the lead at Shrewsbury. Douglas Luiz, meanwhile, is coming forwards for Villa. Square pass to McGinn. McGinn gives it back to Douglas Luiz in the area, flicks it in 2-0. Brilliant Aston Villa goal, and surely they're going to win at Spurs now. That was majestic. The interplay was sublime. The finish was clinical. The boos ring out from the home fans because it's Tottenham 0, Aston Villa 2.
Yeah, it's an absolute brilliant goal from Aston Villa there. The minute Harry Kane gets dispossessed, they quickly turn. Forward passes into feet. Great ball from McGinn. McGinn's ball into the path of Douglas Luiz. Does really well. Still has a lot to do. You can see he's under pressure from the defender. Then Hugo Lloris looks to come and close him down. He just flicks it with the outside of his boot into the back of the net. Really good goal.
Absolutely wonderful passing into play, and such a good finish from Douglas Luiz. One touch to control it, and then going the other way, used his other boot to flick it beyond Hugo Lloris. It's really, really good stuff from him. But you have to wonder about the Spurs defending there, because he was able to run straight into the middle of the penalty area.
Don't underestimate that ball from John McGuinn as well. That was absolutely sublime. He picks him out brilliantly. He has to do quite a bit of work to find him, but he sort of dinks it into him. Doug Luiz's first touch is excellent, and then a flick of the boot is absolutely brilliant.
So Unai Emery back in North London, the former Arsenal manager, and having had a good record in the North London derby against Spurs, he is well on course to get a win with Aston Villa here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium today, with Villa leading 2-0 with a quarter of an hour left to play, and Spurs have conceded 2 goals yet again. That run continues. They have conceded 2 goals or more in 7 successive league games. The first time since 88 to 89 that they have done that. Concern for Antonio Conte, who has his arms folded and a pretty forlorn look on his face as well.
Yeah, it's a big concern. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the changes he's made, obviously Dyer out of the side, coming, Longley in the defensive position, hasn't changed anything. The first goal they conceded, which was a sloppy goal, a mistake from Hugo Lloris, and after that, it's just losing the ball in bad positions, and Villa capitalising.
Well, I think I might have heard a few strains of Daniel Levy, get out of our club. Certainly sounds like there's some sort of negative chanting going around amongst the Spurs fans as Son has it for Spurs, and again they're being pretty timid with the way that they're playing, which has led to some disquiet amongst the supporters. But Romero's up there snapping and snarling in the challenge, and then he's stuck in a boot here, and he's already on a yellow. Villa asking the question. John Brooks, I think, is satisfied just to award the free kick, and John McGinn is down here after sort of motioning that he might have tweaked a hamstring, and he'll receive some treatment.
Yeah, you can see the minute he went down there, you can see Emery turned to his bench to tell him to get the substitution ready. Doesn't look good for him, unfortunately.
Equaliser for Bristol City at Coventry. That one is now 1-1, and Fleetwood have taken the lead 1-0 away at Shrewsbury, while it's now Bradford 2, Salford 1 in League 2. So McGinn still receiving some treatment at the moment. So Tottenham again with some woes in the Premier League. And while we've got this break in play, we can get an update from Sarah Orchard at the rugby.
Yes, Northampton 14, Harlequins 3 here, 32 minutes on the clock, and Harlequins have finally gotten the scoreboard with the penalty that they slotted by Tommy Allen, but they really still haven't looked to threaten the Northampton line yet. And the Saints, who've had nearly 2 weeks off now since their last game, which was in the Champions Cup before Christmas, they're looking lively, fresh, clearly the new year suiting them. It's Northampton 14, Harlequins 3.
Thanks, Sarah. Last time we heard from Aaron Paul, Millwall were leading against Rotherham. Is that still the case?
It is. 32 gone, Millwall 1, Rotherham 0. The Lions dominating here in front of an expectant Den crowd. We've had another big chance spurned by Tom Bradshaw. Ball played across the face of goal. There was Bradshaw. He snapped at it a bit and sent it over the bar. Millwall 1, Rotherham 0.
Thanks, Aaron. And you can have commentary of the rugby that Sarah just gave us an update from on 5 Sports Extra right now. Substitution here with Coutinho coming on for the injured McGinn, and another goal in League 1. Fleetwood now 2-0 up away at Shrewsbury. Here are Villa on the move again though, with Matty Cash by the edge of the area. Sessegnon gets back to try and close him off, and Villa have it with Young with 12 and a bit minutes left to play. Villa leading 2-0, and what a day it's been for them. An expertly taken goal from Douglas Luiz after the Lloris spill allowed the opportunity for Buendia to get the opener for Villa. Lovely pass that from Olsen, crossfield, looking for the run of Cash. Sessegnon's there, but is now hemmed in by Cash, down by the corner flag. He crashes it against Cash, but the ball is broken for Buendia, looking for another here. It's Douglas Luiz on target, and Lloris just behind it. First time strike from the edge of the area was good, but Lloris got his positioning spot on. And now Spurs are coming forwards with Perisic on the right hand side. Kane bursting to get in the middle, and Mings with the sliding clearance to block the cross towards him. Here's Coutinho now. Douglas Luiz has stayed down for Villa. It's up towards Watkins, who has Romero on his back, and the ball has gone out for a throw, so Douglas Luiz will be able to get some treatment now. But wasn't a bad try from him first time. It was just too close to Lloris.
Yeah, it was too straight at him. Lloris there had enough time to get behind it. You could see it just gets clipped. As he has that shot, Douglas Luiz, actually, yeah, you can see Højbjerg steps on the back of on his heel.
Should have been a free kick, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should have been a free kick, and it looks like it's a bit of a bad twist actually on his ankle. He hasn't really moved. I mean, he's been moving because he's been in agony, but it doesn't look great either.
So Spurs are about to make a double change here as they try to change the outcome of this game, but a lot of the home fans have seen enough. A fair amount are making their way out of the stadium already. They don't think that there's a comeback on the cards from Spurs from 2 goals down this afternoon with 10 minutes left to play, and them offering very little going forwards. Looks as though Villa will be forced into a change as well due to that challenge by Højbjerg on Douglas Luiz. So here come the Tottenham changes first of all, and Ibasuma is being taken off. And the other alteration sees Emerson Royal come on for Matt Doherty, with Pape Sarr the man to replace Basuma. Just waiting for confirmation of the Villa change, and it's going to be Callum Chambers who will be introduced, and Jan Bednarek and Danny Ings are also up, so it looks like it might be a triple switch from Unai Emery as they get ready to be introduced. Douglas Luiz still receiving the attention. Højbjerg's across there in conversation with the referee, but he should know that he's the one that made the challenge that has caused the damage.
Yeah, I think he's gone over. He actually held out his hand to say sorry to Douglas Luiz, because it was unintentional, but it didn't look great for Douglas Luiz. I mean, he is getting up now. Be interested to see whether he does it actually, if he's able to actually continue or not.
Well, he's up on his feet, but if Villa are going to make 3 changes here, then you would have thought that he's one of those who's going to be going off. So Buendia, who got the opening goal, is one of those to go off, and taking his time as he trots off the field. Douglas Luiz looks likely to also be replaced here. It is Chambers, Bednarek and Ings coming on, and Douglas Luiz does indeed depart. So off he goes as well, and just waiting to see the identity of the third player who's going to be swapped out by Unai Emery, and it is Ezri Konsa to go off. So it's Konsa, Luiz and Buendia off, with Ings, Chambers and Bednarek on. Tottenham wanting this to be quickened as they chase the game. 8 minutes left to play now. A couple more goals in League Two. Colchester 1-0 up against Swindon, and Crewe have taken the lead. They are 1-0 up against Tranmere in League Two. So Spurs with a mountain to climb and then some. 8 minutes left to play. 2-0 down at home to Aston Villa. And it's not just the scoreline, the nature of the performance will be concerning for Antonio Conte as well.
I think that's the biggest concern. I think not only for Antonio Conte, but also for Spurs fans. It really has been a poor showing up until this point from Tottenham. Players have really lacked any real sort of intensity, and they've struggled with any real quality as well. I mean, we've hardly seen Harry Kane in the game. Son at times has had moments, but nothing really came of it. Perisic has been very, very quiet in their second half.
Huddersfield 1, Luton 0 in the Championship. A lot of 3 o'clock kickoffs in the EFL. We'll bring you up to date with all of those at full time here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 7 minutes of the 90 remaining. Spurs 0, Villa 2. Buendia and Douglas Luiz with the goals as Ings tries to make some inroads and has done really well to just force Pape Sarr, the substitute, into the error, and it comes off him and away for a Villa corner, and there's no Aston Villa player anywhere near the corner flag at the moment to take it. And in fact, I'm somewhat surprised that Coutinho's broken into a bit of a jog, and it's a bit of a dummy run actually. He motioned as if he was going to go over to take the corner, then retreated, so instead Luca Digne with the slow march across to take the corner in front of the Aston Villa supporters.
Yeah, why would you rush? You know, as a Villa player, you'd be taking all the time you possibly could just to slow things down and frustrate the crowd a little bit more, frustrate Tottenham a little bit more, and more importantly, control the game.
In comes the resulting corner, which doesn't clear the first man, but there's no Spurs player able to get onto the second ball, so Chambers can send it all the way back to Olsen between the sticks for Villa. We had the conversation earlier about whether Olsen will be able to keep his place in the Villa side. Now Emi Martinez is back. Hasn't been a great deal to judge him on today, has there?
Not a lot, no. I mean, I don't think there's anything to say that he's not done anything to think that, you know, he's got to keep his spot, but then same goes in terms of saying that he's had a bad game at all. No, he's done what he's had to do, and he's had an okay game.
And Villa having more than an okay game overall. 2-0 up, 5 minutes of the 90 remaining here, and the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium has started to empty out. The weather is grey overhead, and that's certainly the mood for the home fans in the first game here at home since the World Cup break. Not been a happy return to their home stadium. Bednarek for Villa. over on the right side and lofted forwards, and Davis wins the header, but Spurs look like they've given up the ghost a bit now, with Pape Sarr deep in his own territory, just about wriggled out to Emerson Royal. Royal in towards Sarr once again, who plays the 1-2 with Royal into the feet of Perisic, who tried to give it back to Royal, but Kamara sticks out a leg and deflects it out for a throw to Spurs. Midway inside the Villa half, just over 4.5 minutes left to play, and the throw has come straight to Chambers. Now it's dug forwards for Coutinho to race after. Coutinho, was he cleaned out there by Romero? He was. It's a free kick. Romero's already been booked, and the Villa players going across to ask John Brooks whether that merited a second yellow card for the Argentinian World Cup winner. And in fact, the decision is that it's going to be a throw to Spurs, because the ball had gone out before anything happened between Coutinho and Romero.
Yeah, the ball definitely did go out, but it doesn't mean that there's not a foul. So, you know, the referee has taken the easy option there, and it was a foul from Romero. So obviously doesn't deem it to be bad enough for him to actually book him for that as well.
It's now Plymouth 2, MK Dons 1 and Morecambe 1, Burton 0 in League 1. Here is Sarr for Spurs with 3 and a bit minutes left to play, and the Villa fans enjoying themselves as Spurs have it inside their own half. Unai Emery still gesticulating and motioning to his players as to where he wants them to be. Højbjerg sends it out to Son on the left-hand side. Cash in attendance. Son cuts in and then has a go at goal, and it's blocked away well by Jan Bednarek. That was that trademark Son move, cutting inside and trying to curl it into the corner. It's gone away for a Tottenham corner, which Son himself will go over to take. Son steps down off that sort of bank of turf and now comes up it to whip it in towards the near post. Easy for Ashley Younglow to get the header away, and Coutinho's collected the loose ball. He's on his own for now. He's got Watkins suddenly making a burst through the middle. Coutinho with the pass with the outside of the boot, which is majestic. It's picked out Watkins. He's on his own. Watkins towards the edge of the area. Can he get the shot away? Looking to offload, and it comes back for Chambers. Well, that would have been quite something if the former Arsenal man had been able to score a goal to give Villa a 3-0 lead at Spurs.
Yeah, once that ball was played across to Ollie Watkins, Coutinho hits it with the outside of his left boot, and it just takes Watkins a little bit further out of the way, away from the goal. That allows Spurs enough time to get back in numbers and to cut off most options, and the only option he really had was to lay it back to the edge of the box for Callum Chambers, and it was a wayward shot in the end.
So we're going to see Ollie skip, and there's a big cheer as well for Jed Spence's arrival, the lesser spotted Jed Spence. There was conversations in the press room about why he has had such little game time. Well, he's not exactly getting a great deal this afternoon. 2 minutes of the 90 left to play, but he is on, and he was greeted by the home fans.
Well, it was very interesting when Jed actually signed for the club that Antonio Conte came out and said that it was a club signing and it wasn't his signing. So I think that is very much the reason why he's hardly played a game.
Kane chasing one through the middle, and Olsen comes out, judges it well, and then collapses onto the turf. Well, I think there were some comments before where he was basically saying he wasn't at the required level to be playing for Spurs, which is an interesting view, but also the sort of view you wouldn't expect to be made public.
No, it's a really strange one for a manager to say right from the off. I think it was him just saying, look, I didn't buy this player, and he's a club signing, and therefore I'm not necessarily going to play him. Look, I think he's a very good player, and I think he's a player that should have had far more opportunities so far in this season.
Watkins nearly managed to play in Coutinho. Villa have had a couple of sniffs of getting a third. Here is Jed Spence, and roared on by the home fans as he bursts into the Villa half on the right flank. Spence closed down by Coutinho into the final minute of the 90. Villa leading by 2-0. The second of which was really well manoeuvred between McGinn and the man who scored it, Douglas Luiz. Remember highlights of both of today's Premier League games on Match of the Day 2 tonight at 10-11 as Villa get themselves a throw in down by the corner flag. In fact, it might be a free kick. No, it is a throw, which Digne is going to take. 30 seconds left of normal time. Luton have got an equaliser at Huddersfield. It's now 1-1 in the Championship in that game. Throw up towards Romero, who intercepts for Spurs. Spence tries to wrestle it away from Kamara and has fouled him in the process, so it's going to be a free kick for Villa in their left back area, and the game is pretty much up now with seconds of normal time left to play.
I don't think I've seen Antonio Conte sort of least active in his technical area ever, and he's been very, very, very quiet, and he's just standing there with his arms folded, his hand on his chin. Is it the calm before the storm? Is it something that after post-match we'll hear a lot more about his frustration about today's performance?
Yeah, good luck to Rob Nothman with the post-match interviews, especially with Mr. Conte after what is likely to be a poor result for Tottenham here. Although, are we back in Qatar now? Because we've got 7 minutes additional time added on here, which is a bit of a crumb of comfort for Spurs.
I'm hoping there's some hard-hitting questions from Mr. Nothman later on.
He looks nervy at the moment. Let's find out what the latest in the rugby is. Sarah Orchard.
Half-time, Northampton 19, Harlequins 3. 3 tries for the Saints, including a brace for wing James Ram, and Northampton playing delightful rugby. Quins still not at the races. Northampton 19, Quins 3.
Thanks, Sarah. Commentary of that on 5 Sports Extra. Ball given away by Spurs, and Cash has scooped it backwards to Ashley Young. They're playing with a swagger now, Villa, as you'd expect, given that they're 2-0 up with just 6 minutes of additional time to see out. Son has been tugged back by Chambers. That'll be a free kick for Spurs, which Skipper's in a hurry to take, and he has taken it. Gets it into Davis. It'll be interesting to hear the reaction from the Spurs fans at full time. As I say, I thought I heard a few chants directed towards the way of the owners during the game, but we'll see what happens at full time. It is a stadium that has emptied out a fair amount as the minutes have ticked on, and Spurs not looking like they're going to find a way back into it with 5 minutes of injury time remaining, and Spurs still trailing 2-0 as Son tries to scoop one over the top for Kane to chase, but there wasn't enough elevation on the pass, and Mings makes the interception, and Watkins has robbed Longley on halfway. Watkins has 2 Spurs players coming to close him down. Sarr was one of them. Skip was helping out as well, but they've given it away again. It's Watkins for Kamara, chance to make it 3, steadies himself, waits for support to come. Opportunity may have disappeared. It's in towards Danny Ings, and the chance has gone for Villa now. What an opportunity to make it 3-0 in additional time. Son shielding the ball now. Chambers has gone through the back of him. It's a free kick for Spurs, and Son is shouting here at John Brooks. I think he wants a yellow card for Chambers, and he's got his way because the booking has come the way of the Villa substitute.
I'm surprised he didn't give the yellow card sooner, because he's given the yellow card for throwing the ball away, but it's twice now in very quick succession that Callum Chambers has done a professional foul just to slow Spurs down.
So one team from the Midlands has got one over on a side from London. Certainly that's the way it looks, and another match-up between sides from those parts of the country coming up for you in our second commentary, with Nottingham Forest at home to Chelsea. That's at 4:30. Spurs looking to give themselves just a glimmer as Son works it in towards Kane. Ball is cleared away as far as Longley advancing towards the edge of the area, thought about shooting, and doesn't that just sum up the day for Spurs? Longley knocks it out to Son, who tried to bring the ball under control. It came off the outside of his boot and rolls out for a throw.
Yeah, that's when you know it's not going to be your day. When a simple pass like that, he's taking his eye off the ball, he looks to set it really quickly to whip that cross in, and just goes horribly wrong for him.
Well, the Villa fans waving their arms around and goading the Tottenham supporters at the moment, who I think that particular moment with Son was the trigger for a lot more of them to leave, as there's a mass exodus of the home supporters now. Watkins across there has challenged Longley, who's gone down clutching his face. It's going to be a throw to Villa as Longley is on all fours at the moment, now gets to his feet. Just seeing Douglas Luiz not looking like he's moving too well, I think because of that challenge that he was on the end of from Højbjerg, but it's not going to dampen Aston Villa's day. It's going to be another win for Villa under Unai Emery, as a free kick is given away inside the Tottenham half. So Unai Emery, it will be in the Premier League anyway. Played 4, 1-3, lost 1, the only defeat coming against Liverpool. So not a bad return so far.
No, they look very well organised, Aston Villa. You can clearly see that the work or the time that Unai Emery's had with the side has definitely paid dividends. It's perfect, like we talked about earlier on the show about the fact that the World Cup is on for clubs, new managers, players that are not at the World Cup. It's an ideal opportunity to work on things, and he's certainly done that.
Coutinho has it, 30 yards out from goal, space to work with, nearly wriggled it through for Danny Ings. If any team looks like scoring the next goal, it is Villa. Coutinho, corner of the box, has rolled it in for Cash, who tries to get the wrong side. Good covering from Sessegnon to send it behind for a corner to Villa.
Yeah, it was nice last-ditch defending there from Sessegnon. Ball on the outside of him, player running around. He does that last-ditch sort of challenge and puts it out for a corner. You see there Longley at the edge of the box there arguing with Kamara, I think it is, of Aston Villa about the challenge that went on there. He just completely switched off and ignored the play that was going on behind him. Could have easily found his team 3-0 down.
Well, the Aston Villa fans, you can hear, are very much enjoying their trip to London today as Dini gets ready to take this corner, which is arrowed in. Kane missed it, and Mings got on the end of it and sent a free header over the bar from 6 yards out.
I think it was Ollie Watkins actually. He gets on the end. Mings is standing underneath it. Watkins had the run up and he gets it. I think he gets slightly sort of nudged and he spins around and loses his sort of direction.
Into the final minute of the 7 that was signalled. Into Skip by the centre circle. Not the best control from him, but it's been brought back under his control. Now it's Jed Spence trying to play the reverse pass into Emerson Royal. It breaks down though. Kamara has it. Skip lunges in. That's a free kick. And Kamara just dusts himself down. And Villa get themselves set for the free kick and get themselves set to celebrate. Closing thoughts, Mark?
Look, I think Villa have played the game very, very well. First half obviously wasn't the best from either side, but they stayed in the game, they defended well, and they're the away side. So I think it was a job done in that first 45 minutes. The way they started the second half, Spurs looked like they had the momentum, looked like they were going to cause Villa a lot of problems, but it was Villa who obviously took the lead, and it was just coming from nothing. They got a little bit fortunate mistake from Lloris, but from that moment onwards, Villa have really controlled the game and deserved to be 2-0 up and deserved to be going away with 3 points.
Listen to this. You can hear the reaction of the home fans. A very disappointing showing from Antonio Conte's side, who have conceded 2 goals yet again. Aston Villa, good value for their victory. An error from Lloris as he spilt a long-range effort, which allowed Watkins to tee up Buendia for the opener, and then a brilliantly worked goal between McGinn and Douglas Luiz, who poked beyond Lloris. Villa excellent, Spurs poor, full-time. Tottenham Hotspur 0, Aston Villa 2.
And we're going to reflect on that much more with Mark Schwarzer and Mark Scott after we've brought you up to date with what's happening in the Championship.